Total darkness. He has no idea why everything went black right in the middle of a good time. Then his vision clears on a ceiling of wet stone. He holds his hand up and freezes. Instead of fingers, a stubby white limb that belongs in a salad. He reaches up and feels a massive leathery dome where his hair should be. He lifts the cap right off his own head. It's not a hat. He's a mushroom. A puddle confirms it in perfect, horrifying detail. He crosses his stubby arms and tries to remember how he died. The memories aren't heroic. That good time involved no one but himself. He basically worked himself to death alone, and now he's a fungus. He'd been a perfectly healthy young man with black and white hair and a decent build. Now look at him. King Oyster wails that he can't pick up girls looking like this. Out of nowhere, a high-pitched voice calls him King Oyster Bro, snapping him out of his breakdown. He peers over a ledge and spots the silhouette of another mushroom watching from the shadows. His eyes go wide, imagination already running wild. He pictures a stunning woman in a short dress surrounded by hearts and flowers. Convinced this is the beautiful babe of the dungeon, he turns into a total simp, hearts practically popping out of his eyes. He pumps his tiny fists and prepares to make his big move. Then he actually sees who he's been talking to. It's just a pink mushroom girl with glowing yellow eyes, staring at him like he's a total creep. He sees himself reflected in her giant eye, stubby and ridiculous. He stands there in a cold sweat, realizing he's just a mushroom among mushrooms. She asks why he's been saying so many weird things today. He tries to salvage his dignity by asking what mushroom folk usually do for fun around here. He stands there in dead silence, realizing he has been thinking entirely with his instincts. She gives him a flat robotic answer about slaughtering intruders. He asks what she means. She demonstrates. Intruders, we will slaughter you. That is the entire vocabulary. The pink mushroom girl even throws up a little peace sign while she delivers it, completely deadpan. King Oyster stares at her in disbelief, wondering if everyone here is a mindless drone. Then the cave lights up with a violent red glow. Right on cue, another mushroom NPC charges out of the tunnel screaming the exact same line, proving the pink girl's point in real time. A massive muscular foot slams onto the ground, cracking the stone beneath it. A hulking orc named Kabu steps forward, red eyes glowing and steam venting from his mouth. His partner Rabu worries they might need a healer. Kabu scoffs. The monsters here are the lowest level, totally brain dead, fixed patterns all the way down. Kabu is a level 1 orc warrior and Rabu is a level 1 orc archer, real players farming the dungeon for XP. He swings his heavy axe in a wide arc, cleaving the charging mushroom in half with ease. Purple blood sprays everywhere. Kabu is just speed-running the dungeon, leaving a trail of purple blood in his wake. A whole swarm rushes in screaming the same line, and it's a complete slaughter. He turns back to Rabu with a smug grin. See, what did he tell her? King Oyster and the pink mushroom girl watch the carnage from the shadows of a nearby tunnel. His kind are just lining up to be turned into XP. Kabu carves through them all, axe spinning in wide arcs, purple blood painting the cave. Nothing left but scraps and scattered caps. King Oyster demands to know why mushroom NPCs just charge straight in like that instead of running when they're outmatched. The pink mushroom girl explains flatly, mushroom folk are just NPCs. Everything they do is pre-programmed. They don't have the freedom players do. King Oyster realizes those two orcs are actual players, which surprises him since he always figured players look human. She admits she's just an NPC with a few extra lines of exposition. That's all she knows. A sharp thwack rings out as an arrow buries itself in the wood right next to him. Rabu stands below with her bow already drawn, red eyes locking onto him. They've been spotted. His heart sinks. Rabu pulls back for a second shot, her whole body coiled, the bowstring taut. King Oyster instantly snaps into action, bolting away and screaming at the pink mushroom girl to run. She just stands there with a question mark over her head, utterly confused by the concept. He bolts into the darkness, survival instincts finally overriding the game's code. He looks back and sees her still frozen. He rushes back and screams at her to move, voice thick with desperation. The pink mushroom girl tells him that fleeing isn't part of their programming. King Oyster refuses to leave her behind, reaching back and shouting for her to grab his hand. The moment their hands meet, the air around them crackles and glitches with purple energy. Bright red system alerts flood the air, screaming about a major data anomaly that shouldn't be happening. The warnings stack and multiply, warning data anomaly cascading across every surface, the dungeon's code throwing a full fit. King Oyster doesn't care about the rules. He hauls her forward, shouting to screw the programming and the anomalies. Staying alive comes first. She calls out his name in shock as the dungeon fractures around them, glitch energy tearing at the air. The two mushrooms sprint into the dark. Up on the ridge, the orc players watch them run, completely baffled. Kabu figures it's just a weird game bug, but Rabu isn't about to let her easy XP slip away. He tells her to go log the bug and not to go dying on him out there. She just sneers, like she'd die here. The two mushrooms dive into rubble. King Oyster's eyes dart around the cave and land on a heavy wooden treasure chest in the corner. He hopes there's something useful inside, but the pink girl warns those chests are for players only. Mushroom folk are programmed to fight barehanded. King Oyster's eye locks onto that chest. He smashes the lock open with a heavy stone, causing the system to scream with another round of warnings. The girl is stunned into silence. He dives in, tossing aside gold coins and potions in search of something sharp. The King Oyster she knew could never have broken the rules like this. She watches with her wide yellow eyes, wondering why he is suddenly so different. Before he can arm himself, another arrow whistles through the air with lethal speed. The system screams fresh anomaly warnings as the glitch energy crackles. The warnings multiply, filling every corner of the air. The pink girl's body moves on its own, her mind telling her that saving a teammate isn't in her code. Despite the rules, she throws herself in front of King Oyster. A spray of purple blood flies into the air as the arrow catches her square in the back. She collapses to the dusty floor, whispering that the old King Oyster bro could never do these things. Why is he suddenly so different? King Oyster dives back into the chest, tossing coins aside. There's a lot of good stuff in there, but he needs something with an edge. His fingers finally close around a heavy kitchen cleaver at the bottom of the player-only chest. With a roar, he swings the blade, sparks flying as he deflects the incoming arrow clean out of the air. The pink girl said she couldn't stand by and let anyone hurt King Oyster bro, so she didn't. The arrow meant for him lies useless on the stone. King Oyster stands over her with the cleaver, facing Rabu's position on the ridge. Rabu watches from the ledge, cold sweat rolling down her face. She looks at the smashed player-only chest and can't wrap her head around how a bottom-tier trash mob just did all of this. With a decisive slash at the chest behind him, King Oyster hacks the lid clean off and turns it into a shield. Then he charges straight up the cliff face, taking a hail of arrows on the lid as he goes. Rabu frantically draws back. She's got a second shot, red eyes wide as the mushroom refuses to die. He crashes into her position and casts aside the heavy lid to go for the kill. A blinding flash cuts through the air as the cleaver finds its mark. Purple blood sprays across the rocky ground. Rabu collapses onto the cracked earth, life force draining away while King Oyster stands over his first kill. She stares up, jaw dropped. A bottom-tier mushroom monster just deflected her arrow. The shattered arrow lies useless on the ground, physical proof that something in this dungeon has gone very wrong. It even smashed open a treasure chest meant only for players. Cold sweat. Kabu stares back at her, red eyes burning, jaw tight. This is one massive bug. Far from the dungeon, a cloaked advisor reports to a hulking orc warrior. So, these are the bugs they found this time. Kabu just scowls, asking how dungeons that have been running this long still have bugs at all. The hooded figure shrugs. It's precisely because they have been running so long that maintenance oversights are inevitable. From the dark, the Grand Lich manifests, a massive flaming skull above a pair of skeletal hands. After defeating the human alliance, he worried his idle warriors would cause trouble, so he built this dungeon world to keep them busy. Warriors enter the dungeons as players, fight monsters, grind loot, all just to kill time. Players who find a bug submit it to the necromancer admins and wait. Rabu refuses to wait. She draws her bow and says she will fix this bug herself. Back in the dungeon, an arrow slices down with blinding speed toward the fleeing mushroom below. King Oyster pivots and bats it aside with the kitchen cleaver, sparks flying off the blade. Already impressed, the base stats of this mushroom body aren't half bad. He grips the cleaver tighter, eyes narrowing. 3 arrows whistle down in a tight cluster. He bats them all aside with rapid strikes, sparks flying. But his stubby legs are the problem. Closing the distance under sustained fire won't be easy. His eyes land on the smashed treasure chest sitting nearby. He wonders if there's anything he can use to block the arrows. Decision made. He hacks the lid clean off the chest and hefts it as a shield, deflecting the next volley. Using the lid as a battering ram, he charges straight up the cliff face, taking a hail of arrows the whole way. He crashes into Rabu's position with the force of a falling boulder, cleaver flashing as he leaps for the kill. Rabu takes the blow, purple blood spraying. She cannot believe it. When do mushroom monsters use chest lids as shields? Those movements are exactly like a player's. She collapses from the edge, a blinding flash of blue cutting through the air as King Oyster's cleaver finds its mark. A shock wave of impact, then a bright discharge of energy rings the moment the blow lands. Rabu crashes to earth, her final realization escaping in a shout, a player. The dungeon reality seems to split around the moment. Two overlapping images of Kabu frozen in the same stance, as if the system itself is registering what just happened. Purple blood pools on the cracked ground where the archer fell. King Oyster stands over the corpse, the cleaver still in hand, and a massive system notification ignites the air around him. The system congratulates him on first blood. He has just unlocked 2 mushroom folk racial talents. Mycelial network, linking him with minions to share information, skills, and experience, and plant mushroom, letting him root onto corpses or nutrient-rich spots to absorb nutrients, restore HP, and steal enemy skills. There is also a form toggle, letting him switch between his mushroom body and a reconstructed humanoid appearance. He stares at the glowing text in shock, asking himself, did he just get a system? He already transmigrated into a mushroom monster, so having a system is nothing to get worked up about. Without hesitation, he activates plant mushroom, stepping onto Rabu's cooling body to see what this new power can do. Pink mycelial tendrils erupt from the ground and burrow into the corpse. The tendrils pulse as nutrients drain upward into him. He shudders as a wave of intoxicating energy rushes through him. Oh, this feels amazing, so intoxicating. He's practically vibrating with new power, heart symbols floating off him in every direction. He catches himself, cuts it short, and turns his head, dark eyes searching for the fallen pink mushroom girl in the rubble below. She lies motionless in the dirt, the arrow still protruding from her back. He walks to her side, his cap tilted down. He kneels and whispers that she took an arrow for him, so now it's his turn to save her. Activating plant mushroom a second time, he reaches a glowing hand toward her, and a blaze of red energy erupts. A blinding flare of crimson light bursts from her body, illuminating the cave. Mycelial tendrils weave and spiral around her form, reconstructing her from the inside out. A tall, slender humanoid silhouette rises within the swirling pillar of red and pink energy, its shape unmistakably female. The energy crackles and surges as the form solidifies, red light pulsing with each heartbeat of the transformation. The light fades to reveal a woman's silhouette, tall and composed, standing amid the dissipating glow. King Oyster watches from below, completely frozen. He lets out an involuntary, awestruck sound, heart symbols where his eyes should be, a massive anime-style nosebleed erupting under his cap. The light clears fully to reveal a beautiful woman with dark hair pinned in a bun, a red streak at the temple, and long pointed ears. She stands clad in a red and black dress. A new status window confirms her as a level 2 mushroom archer, primary attribute agility, racial talent letting her extend mycelium to absorb nutrients from corpses, heal, and steal enemy skills. She has already absorbed Rabu's berserk ability, boosting damage by 30% for 20 seconds. Her species skill fires spores onto enemies to drain their nutrients and restore her own HP. She sinks to one knee before him, head bowed, and tells her chief. This subordinate greets the chief. Please grant her a name. A system prompt confirms he has cultivated his first mushroom subordinate and asks him to give her a name. He pauses, wondering if all mushroom monsters are originally nameless. King Oyster crosses his arms and thinks, wanting a name that fits her elegant new form. His eye widens as it comes to him. He raises a finger and declares it. He will call her Saifeng. Saifeng accepts with a graceful smile, confirming from now on she is Saifeng. She asks which secret realm they are raiding next. King Oyster cuts her off. What raid? They are monsters, they are NPCs. Their top priority is to kill the remaining player. His grin is wide and serrated, red eyes burning in the dark under his cap. Elsewhere in the dungeon, a scattered pile of bones lies in the dark, just another set of remains. A massive foot kicks the bones aside, sending them clattering across the stone. Kabu stares at the debris, his expression sour. He cannot believe Rabu got taken out by the trashiest monster in here. He looks toward the tunnel ahead, convinced a normal level 1 mushroom monster couldn't have pulled that off. Then greed takes over as he thinks. Could it be a rare elite? Rare elites drop sweet loot. Pull a blue tier item, and he makes a fortune. He activates his orc charge, his massive body becoming a blur as he tears across the cavern. King Oyster stands directly in the path of the stampede, looking incredibly small against the hulking orc barreling toward him. The ramming impact slams into the cave wall with an ear-splitting crash, shattering a massive chunk of the floor, but the target had already dodged aside. Blood seeps from a fresh cut on Kabu's thigh. King Oyster watches from the side, sweat dripping, realizing this warrior is way tankier than the archer. One slash only did this much damage. He keeps his cool, but the math is grim. Kabu is furious, unable to believe a trash mob actually drew his blood. He roars that this damn mushroom had the nerve to hurt him. The chase leads them through the stone caverns, the mushroom barely staying a step ahead, Kabu a blazing red silhouette in pursuit. They burst through a stone archway and emerge at an underground dock where a single rickety wooden bridge spans the dark water. Kabu lands hard on the platform, footsteps thundering. The dock stretches over still, black water, planks old and water-warped, a round door set into the cavern wall beyond it. Kabu bursts through the entrance, smashing aside anything in his path, red eyes locking onto the little mushroom standing at the very far end of the dock with his back turned. Kabu stops at the start of the walkway, suspicious. King Oyster just stands there quietly staring out at the water, fully in maximum asking for a beating mode. Kabu hesitates, wondering if it's a trap, but scoffs the thought away. It's still just a brainless NPC, and it is just standing there staring at him, not even going to run. Why does this feel like a trap? But no matter how he looks at it, it's still just an NPC. He can't quite shake the feeling, but his pride won't let him back off. King Oyster turns around and calmly gives Kabu the middle finger. Kabu's rage reaches a breaking point, a vein bulging in his forehead. How dare this mushroom taunt him? He roars that he is going to chop this mushroom into paste, and charges onto the bridge, axe raised, the old wood screaming under his weight. The planks buckle and snap beneath him as he rushes forward. He leaps into the air for a final overhead strike, certain this is the end, but the entire bridge collapses under him. King Oyster is already airborne, having jumped clear to safety just as the dock gives way. Kabu hits the water with a massive crash, his heavy armor and axe dragging him under. He thrashes in shock, red eyes wide. A player, done in by a rotting dock. He screams upward, despicable mushroom. He actually got set up. Then the kitchen cleaver drops from the ledge and bites into his shoulder, blood clouding the water red. Kabu thrashes and screams. King Oyster points out from above. He dropped his weapon in the panic, and the water restricts his movement. Kabu snarls back that even unarmed and stuck, what kind of damage can a weakling's strength do to him? An arrow streaks down from above and punches clean through his throat. Saifeng perches on the cliffside, berserk glow fading. Kabu sinks. Two magic pouches surface from the corpse, and King Oyster reaches down to claim them. Kabu is still talking, wanting to know what kind of damage a weakling like King Oyster could possibly do to him. A crashing blow answers that question. Blood sprays across the stone. Kabu recoils, blood on his face, demanding to know who is sneak attacking him. Saifeng's arrow punches straight through him, blood blooming in a wide arc. The orc's hand slips under the water. The system announces that Orc Berserk has ended, and Saifeng lowers her bow. Orc Warrior eliminated. King Oyster watches the dark smear on the water from a ledge above, his tiny mushroom body unimpressed but pleased. He shouts that it is finally his turn, and steps down to the corpse. Red energy pulses from his hand as he triggers the harvest, absorbing the orc's nutrients, and the transformation begins. The mycelium floods in, swirling pink and red, reshaping everything. His mushroom form buckles, eyes wide, overwhelmed by the surge. The system logs it simply, reshaping appearance. A burst of pink smoke and the stony floor cracks outward. He laughs, pressing his new human hands against his jaw, his cheeks, his very real nose, saying he finally molded it back. Saifeng's eyes snap downward and her voice goes up an octave. Boss, what exactly is that dangling down there? She stands there, very composed, doing a very thorough visual inspection, while he scrambles behind her in a panic. He grabs a broken axe handle and thrusts it in front of himself, telling her it is just an axe handle. She nods slowly. He laughs it off, saying he almost forgot to wear clothes. His stat card materializes. Lv.2 Mushroom Man Boss, Yongo. Class Warrior, primary attribute Strength. His Mushroom Man Mycelium talent lets him extend mycelium to drain nutrients from enemy corpses and self-heal, and during that healing process he can absorb the enemy's special skills and racial talents. He has already inherited Orc Berserk. Activate for a 30% damage boost lasting 20 seconds. The screen scrolls. He can now separate spores from his body and plant them on enemy corpses or other nutrients to grow soulless mushroom soldiers. These soldiers share their EXP with him and can be grafted together. 2 soldier slots are available. Other loot. 2 magic pouches, small portable containers that compress and store weapons and items. Yango asks how they are supposed to get out of here. Saifeng tells him plainly. This is the bottom floor of the Mushroom Man dungeon, and the only exit is to fight their way up, floor by floor. He raises a finger, pointing out that the level 1 orc players entered directly. So why can they not? Saifeng explains that players have special system privileges and can drop straight into low-level dungeons. Yango stares at her and asks how she knows all of this. She admits she spent a long time as an NPC and picked up a lot from listening to players' chats. Then let us fight our way out, floor by floor. The 2 of them set off, barefoot and underdressed, looking more like castaways than dungeon bosses. Footsteps on stone. They reach a fork. Yango asks what is on each side. Saifeng says the left is the Lv.1 slime floor, the right is the graveyard. He tells her to go grind EXP on the slime floor. He is going to look around the graveyard. Saifeng raises an eyebrow, asking what there is to see in a graveyard. He answers with a wide red-eyed grin. It is a graveyard now, but it will be their home turf later. He strides in wearing tattered clothes he picked up along the way. The smell hits him before he even gets close. He mutters that as expected of a graveyard, the stench is overwhelming even from this far away. He looks up at the hole in the cavern ceiling above and concludes that trash, corpses, and junk must be dumped down from up there. The floor of the pit is an ocean of bones and broken skeletons. He stands at the edge, taking it all in, already calculating. He crouches in the remains, thinking that although they have been here a long time, there are still residual nutrients he can use. A leaking barrel glows with a blue scan, mixture of residual health potions and Hyamuse. A tar puddle nearby, mixture of residual tar and Hyamuse. Torn magic books fused with Hyamuse. He has his recipe. He notes that excluding Saifeng, he has 1 more mushroom soldier slot to fill. He raises his hand, and the red energy flows. Mycelial tendrils tear through the bone pile, pulling the potions and tar and paper into a spinning red vortex. The vortex collapses inward, and something small and fierce begins to take shape. A tiny crimson mushroom erupts from the smoke, its cap wreathed in living fire, eyes glowing red. Stat card, Lv.2 Pyroshroom. Fire attribute. Skill Pyroblast fires a fireball that explodes on contact and engulfs the target's limbs in flames to absorb nutrients. Skill Flaming Sprint channels the power of flames into a 50% movement speed boost. Yango crosses his arms and looks down at his new minion with something between admiration and mild disappointment. He says it looks quite imposing, but it is a bit small. From the dark at the far end of the graveyard, 2 blue points of light watch him. A bolt of blue electricity slams into the ground in front of him, forcing him to jump back. The crackling charge tears across the floor toward the pyroshroom. Yango crouches, and the creature slides forward into the light. Lv.2 Graveyard Dominator, Electro Snail. A massive blue shell humming with electricity, eye stalks bristling with static charge. Yango sizes it up and notes that a monster feeding on Hyamuse is a direct competitor in the same ecological niche as Mushroom Men. Then he points at his minion, newly planted Pyroshroom. This is your time to shine. The Pyroshroom's head ignites, and it launches a blazing fireball. Pyroblast. The orb streaks across the bone field. It hits the Electro Snail, and the cavern lights up orange. Fire and lightning collide on the snail's shell, sparks and embers scattering across the graveyard. The explosion tears outward, bones flying, smoke rolling thick. Debris rains down as the blast wave rolls across the pit. When the smoke clears, the snail's shell is cracked and scorched, purple fluid leaking from the fractures. But the snail retreats deep into its shell and fires back, a lightning bolt screaming across the ground. The pyroshroom dodges with flaming sprint, leaving a trail of fire where it stood. More electricity crackles, more evasion. The pyroshroom is surprisingly agile. Yango watches from the ledge, satisfied. He tells himself this snail monster moves very slowly, and that slowness is a weakness that can be fully exploited. A second pyroblast roars across the graveyard. Direct hit. The shell explodes outward in a gout of fire. Smoke and ruin. The snail looks finished. The cracked shell collapses. Then it cracks again, but differently, and the snail slides free of the wreckage entirely. Without the shell, the creature is a sleek blue dart, crackling with electricity, purple fluid dripping from its wounds, but its body unburdened and fast. Yango watches from the wall above. The pyroshroom waves its stubby arms in what can only be described as a victory dance. He calls down for it to stop waving and go check if the enemy is actually dead. His expression shifts the moment he sees the snail's new form. The shell-free snail bursts forward in a blur of blue light, leaving afterimages across the graveyard. It tears past the pyroshroom with ease, electricity arcing off its path, the little fire minion spinning helplessly in its wake. The snail zips up the cavern wall and ricochets off the ceiling, laughing, untouchable. Yango launches himself off the ledge, dropping straight into the fray. The snail dodges every swing and shouts, "Can't hit me." Yango realizes this fight has changed completely. He thinks to himself that once it ditched the shell, this thing became as fast as lightning. Lightning crashes across him directly, and he takes the hit. He swings back, red energy crisscrossing the air around him, and the snail dodges every arc with contemptuous ease. The snail lands right in front of him, mocking him, as slow as a snail. Its idea of an insult. Yango smiles. Sure enough, he tells it, without that house weighing you down, you are so much lighter. His plan is already in motion. He orders the pyroshroom to aim its next blast at the ceiling. The snail watches lightning crawl across the ceiling above, confused. Yango keeps the creature's attention fixed on him. He notes aloud that the snail really is so much lighter without the shell, baiting it closer. The pyroshroom fires at the ceiling. Cracks spread through the rock in every direction. The snail charges in for the kill, grinning wide, still convinced it is the fastest thing in the pit. Yango activates the absorbed Orc Berserk. The red heat floods through him, and he tells the snail, that fireball had nothing to do with you. The ceiling comes down. Buried under rock and still trying to dodge, the snail meets the orc charge full in the face. The graveyard falls quiet. Both Yango and Saifeng hit level 3, and his system unlocks spirit shroomification, letting him empower his soldiers. The graveyard erupts in fire and lightning. Yango has been trading blows with the electro snail, and the pyroblast shroom has been hurling fireballs at it, but every shot has sailed wide. 3 fireballs streak across the cavern floor, scorching the stone but missing their mark entirely. The snail zips through the smoke, laughing. Ha ha, you missed. You still missed. Yango watches, unmoved, as a crack spider webs up the cave wall behind the snail. The snail stabs a finger at him, gloating that their speeds are on completely different levels and that every single attack has missed. Yango lets a small smile cross his face. They didn't miss, he says quietly. I wasn't aiming for you in the first place. The ceiling gives way. Tons of rock cascade down into the graveyard pit in a deafening collapse. The snail stares upward as rubble buries it, finally putting the pieces together. You aimed at the ceiling to cause a cave-in, huh? The whole pit shakes as boulder after boulder crashes down, trapping the snail inside a mountain of rock. Yango triggers Orc Enrage and Orc Charge back to back, his body igniting in red energy as he tears through the debris cloud. The snail sheds rubble and rises from the dust, its antenna glowing. But that still won't hit me, it says. It senses something is off, shouting into the smoke. Using the thick smoke for cover? I can still easily dodge. The words die in the snail's mouth as the pyroblast shroom barrels out of the haze straight at it, a second ambush hidden inside the first. Yango is already there, driving a brutal blow into the stunned snail while it is locked on the minion. The snail screams in disbelief. To think you hit another ambush within your ambush. A final slash cuts through what remains of the electro snail's defense, the impact cracking the cavern floor. Yango stands with his back to the purple splatter on the wall, the graveyard quiet at last. The system logs it plainly. Electro snail eliminated, nutrition increasing, shroom soldier spores cultivating. He presses a glowing hand to the corpse and channels the plant mushroom skill, pouring the snail's electrical energy into something new. Pink and red light swirls around him as experience surges through his body. The system confirms he and Saifeng both hit level 3. Shroom soldier slots expand to 3, and a new skill called Spirit Shroomification unlocks, letting him convert network soldiers into spirit forms for faster recovery and greater combat power. Blue lightning crackles as the spores take shape, a new soldier assembling itself from the snail's absorbed energy. The system confirms the birth of the Electro Shroom, a fast-moving soldier that converts nutrients into electrical power and discharges electric shocks at enemies. The new Electro Shroom materializes in spirit state, its blue cap crackling with contained lightning. Beside it, the pyroblast shroom shifts into spirit state 2, the crown of fire on its head burning brighter than ever. Lv.3 Electro Shroom, Lv.2 Pyroblast Shroom. Yongo surveys both minions and nods. Not bad at all. Let's hurry up and clean this place up. From now on, this will be the base camp for us mushroom folk. As his soldiers set to work, his thoughts drift to Saifeng. It has been a while since their last shared EXP gain, he thinks, and he wonders whether she has run into something tougher than a handful of slimes. Deep in the slime floor, the answer is no. Dozens of glowing turquoise slimes are pinned to the cavern walls with precise arrow shots, and Saifeng stands on a ridge above the wreckage looking almost bored. A massive shadow falls over her, and a voice shakes the walls. Are you the one using my underlings for target practice? The Lv.2 Slime King rises from the darkness, a towering curtain of green jelly with black horns and a single red eye burning at its center. It tilts its massive face toward her. Why do I feel like I've seen you somewhere before? Saifeng does not bother answering. She fires an arrow directly into the Slime King's face. The Slime King howls. I haven't finished speaking yet. How rude. It lashes a giant slick tentacle straight down at her, catching her before she can clear the impact zone. Saifeng is sent spinning through the air, arrows scattering from her quiver. She crashes hard into the cave floor, the Slime King looming over her. It lectures her. It is completely different from those small fry underlings. Its body has excellent elasticity, and all her attacks can do is cost it some bodily fluids. The Slime King spreads its bulk across the cavern, blotting out the light as Saifeng picks herself up below. It continues the speech. As long as it keeps replenishing its water supply from the groundwater beneath the floor, physical attacks are a pure waste of her energy. It raises a massive slick fist high above Saifeng's tiny figure and roars one word. Die. The fist plunges down, but the moment it touches Saifeng's body, something goes wrong. The arm slows, then stops, as if the muscle has forgotten how to contract. Green slime pours off the creature in sheets, and Saifeng stands inside the cascade completely calm, the red streak in her hair glowing. The Slime King's whole body stretches and sags, mushrooms erupting from its surface in clusters, their pale caps spreading like islands across the green mass. Why is my body suddenly collapsing? The Slime King's voice cracks with panic as the mushrooms multiply faster than it can process. Mushrooms? Since when? It stares at the growths poking out of its own chest, horrified. The parasitic roots have reached down through its body and tapped the groundwater beneath, draining the very source it was counting on to regenerate. Even the groundwater beneath my feet has been drained dry by these mushrooms. The Slime King shudders and collapses inward. As its body loses cohesion, it asks the only question left. When did this mushroom parasitize my body? The answer comes from the arrow tip in its face, still lodged there from the opening shot. Could it be that parasitic spores were attached to the arrowheads from the very beginning? Its red eye dims. I remember now. Why, you're that pink-capped mushroom guy. Saifeng had lived on its territory before the transformation. The Slime King dissolves into a puddle. Out of the goo thuds a massive obsidian horn, too hard for even the king's acidic body to digest over however long it was trapped inside. Saifeng stands over it while a system window identifies the prize, the devoured minotaur horn, left behind by some reckless minotaur player, so durable the Slime King could not break it down. It can be used to craft weapons. She tucks the horn into her magic pouch, then sends mycelial tendrils into the slime corpse to drain the remaining nutrients. Experience floods back through the network. Saifeng's eyes catch the light as the level-up glow washes over her. Back in the graveyard, Yongo's face lights up with the same pink radiance. The shared connection means both of them level up at once. Saifeng hits level 4 and unlocks mycelial string arrow. She can generate a bowstring and arrows from her own mycelium and channel magic skills through every shot. Yongo also hits level 4 and unlocks Scout Shroom. Grow them on the network to reconnoiter and gather intelligence, and use the network to transplant soulless soldiers anywhere on the floor. Saifeng makes her way back to the graveyard base, where the Pyroblast Shroom and the Electro Shroom are glowing in their spirit states among the bones. She gazes down from a ledge, noting she had planned to help clean up, but the two soldiers have nearly finished on their own. Yongo turns the Minotaur horn over in his hands, impressed. He tells her the area is not that big anyway, and that the horn's material is in a completely different league from the broken cleaver in the chest or the axe off that level 1 orc player. The problem, he adds with a grin, is that they have no craftsman to work it. Saifeng suggests hunting for one. He raises a finger. His new skill will handle that. He is going to check the network for any players or corpses with crafting skills nearby. He presses both palms to the earth and pushes the mycelial network outward, pink veins racing across the cavern floor in every direction. The network blazes out across the whole floor in glowing red threads, Yonggo and Saifeng tiny silhouettes against the brilliant web they have woven under the dungeon. A scout shroom sprouts on the line and its sensor sparks. Yonggo tilts his head. Are there players fighting nearby? The scout beams a pink signal into a dark passage, tracing the source of the commotion. Through the scout's vision, a group of blue-skinned slavers has cornered a lone figure in a dead-end cave. They shout at him to surrender and come back to forge weapons. The cornered figure is a stocky, bald dwarf with enormous arms and a thick black beard. He spits the offer back at them. He is not going back to be a slave. He roars, because his people were all worked to death slaving away for them already. A blue-skinned slaver swings a blade at the defiant dwarf, the chapter cutting out on the arc of steel and the dwarf's furious red eyes. The dwarf craftsman is already dead, slumped in a rocky crevice with a troll's spear through him. Yonggo and Saifeng arrived one step too late. A single glowing scout shroom pulses pink against the stone, the only light down in the crevice where the body came to rest. Yonggo sighs that they were still a step too late. He and Saifeng stand at the edge of the chasm, peering down into darkness. Saifeng asks what he is looking at because she cannot see a thing. Yonggo tells her to extend her mycelium and connect to the network, and she will be able to see it too. He pulls up a blue interface while she narrows her eyes. Two scout shrooms flare pink along the crevice floor. Saifeng gasps that it is true, she can see it too. Yonggo decides, if he cannot save the living, he can at least save the dead. He reaches into the mycelial network, red tendrils flowing toward the corpse. A different way of living, after all. The system label reads, transplanting pyroshroom via the mycelial network. Fire and ice light collide in the crevice as the transplant takes hold, red mycelium weaving through cold stone. The energies clash and explode in a starburst of pink and blue, the shockwave cracking the crevice walls. A vortex of swirling crimson light floods the hollow, the resurrection spirals spinning wider with every second. From the heart of the inferno, a new figure rises, skin glowing red, hair replaced by a smoldering mushroom cap, arms wreathed in living flame. A stat screen materializes. Lv.4 Pyroshroom Dwarf Artisan, Strength Build, Fire Attribute with increased fire resistance. Higher resistance to toxins and physical attacks on top of standard mushroomkin traits. His artisan crafting is supercharged by fire. Special skill, Fiery Mycelium. Derivative skill, Mycelial Fire Hammer, releasing controllable flaming hammers tethered by mycelium that draw on the network for extra damage. The newly born dwarf stares at his blazing hands and stammers, asking how he is still alive. Yonggo tells him plainly. He resurrected him and turned him into a shroom soldier. The dwarf looks up at Yonggo, wild-eyed, the tiny mushroom boss standing below that enormous flaming cap with his arms crossed and a completely straight face. Yonggo cuts him off, telling him his name is Firehammer from now on. Firehammer tries to say he wants to talk about something, but Yonggo already knows, because his tracker shroom has been following those trolls the whole time. Elsewhere, the troll raiders are laughing. The lackey reasons that if all the dwarves back home are worked to death, the trolls will not have to do any of the hard labor themselves. The mini-boss troll calls him an idiot. A tiny pink scout shroom glows beside the massive blue foot, invisible to the trolls, feeding everything it sees straight back to Yonggo. The mini-boss, labeled Lv.2 Troll Player, sneers that if the ones at home die from exhaustion, they just go catch more in the dungeon. He twirls his spear and grins. His red eye snaps sideways. Something is wrong. The trolls demand to know why there are mushroomkin here. The lackey shrugs. Their nest is next door, so this is probably just a wandering elite mob. The mini-boss grabs his spear, thinking out loud that it is probably just a bonus loot drop walking up to them. He calls it their lucky day and charges, slamming off the cave wall in a blur as he rockets toward Firehammer. The spear rockets across the ground, aimed straight at the stationary dwarf. Firehammer does not flinch. He swings his massive ornate hammer in a short, decisive arc. The hammer connects with the spear in a ring of fire, the troll sent cartwheeling backward from the shockwave. The mini-boss catches himself on a ledge, barely staying upright, and watches Firehammer track him through the smoke. A bead of sweat runs down his face. Firehammer drives the hammer into the cave floor, and an eruption of fire tears outward, a second shockwave hurling the mini-boss across the cavern. The troll slams into the wall, stunned, and mutters that was close. The hammer is still burning in the dust, trailing a pillar of flame. The glowing hammer lifts off the ground on its own, spinning slowly, hunting for the next target. The mini-boss's eye goes wide. He cannot believe what he is looking at. The autonomous hammer swings through a wide arc, slicing through the air in a curtain of flame. The blast catches a second troll full in the face, sending him flying, and the mini-boss staggers back, screaming that these hammers actually auto-target enemies. Another hammer strike triggers a massive burst of golden light, the cave ringing with the impact. Firehammer swings again, his mushroom cap blazing, the ornate hammer glowing white-hot as he builds momentum for the next combo. The hammer carves a blazing ring through the air, the fire trailing behind it like a comet. The weapon homes in and slams into an obsidian support pillar at the back of the cavern, deep cracks spidering outward through the stone. Firehammer catches the returning hammer on its mycelial tether, the glowing chain snapping taut as the weapon spins back into his grip. He launches into the air, fire streaming from his cap, swinging the hammer in a wide spiral. He crashes down into the group of trolls, the hammer blast scattering them like kindling. The mini-boss barely rolls clear, dust pouring from the cracks in his armor, red eyes still blazing with defiance. Firehammer raises a fist, and golden rings snap around the troll's limbs. The skill label reads, Mycelial Entanglement. Then Mycelial Ignition fires. The rings explode in sequence, slamming through the troll's defenses, and Firehammer drives his fist straight into the mini-boss with a devastating punch. The mini-boss takes the full force of the blow, blood and debris flying, and realizes too late that the dwarf was not stopping there. A pillar of fire erupts from the point of impact, incinerating everything in a blinding column. The smoke clears enough to reveal Yongo watching from above, and the last troll scrambling away through the debris. Firehammer slices a flaming arc at the fleeing troll, the hammer trailing a white streak through the smoke. The hit connects, and the troll spins off the wall in a spray of blood. Firehammer blasts a structural pillar, and the ceiling above the troll starts to come apart, chunks raining down. The troll looks up in horror, screaming that the dwarf broke the wooden pillar above to cause a cave-in. He scrambles as stone crashes around him. The troll leaps clear of the worst of the debris, bruised but grinning, boasting that he took a few hits, but can still dodge something like this. Firehammer slams his hammer into the ground and activates Firehammer Ignition, a shockwave of pure flame rolling outward across the cave floor. A spinning hammer streaks low across the scorched stone like a burning meteor. Rain of flying firehammers. A barrage of blazing hammers rains from above. Yongo stands with his back to the inferno, watching from a safe distance as the sky behind him turns to fire. The last troll stares up at the cascade of hammers and whispers that he cannot dodge this. The hammers land in a chain of explosions that tear the cavern apart, wave after wave of fire until the smoke is too thick to see through. A system notification appears, troll players eliminated. The last troll's blade clatters into the rubble. Firehammer stands in the settling dust, glowing with a soft pink aura of accumulated power, the ornate hammer resting across his shoulder. The level-up screen confirms. Firehammer reaches Lv.5 Artisan Shroom and learns Salvage Hammer, a skill that lets him smash through useless junk to recover any hidden materials still worth something. Yongo also hits Lv.5, unlocking the Farmer Shroom variety, dual-purpose workers for gathering, forging, and cultivating, but sturdy enough to arm up and fight when needed. Saifeng reaches Lv.5 as well and learns Mycelial Arrow Step, which lets her instantly teleport to the location of any arrow she fires, making her nearly impossible to pin down. Yongo gives Firehammer a satisfied nod and tells him nice work, then sends over the coordinates and tells him to come find them. Firehammer stares, completely floored, and stammers that he thought humans were all, trailing off unable to finish the thought. Yongo explains calmly. A mushroomkin's form is shaped by whatever race they held in life, and since he was human before, he still looks it now. Saifeng was also human before the Archmage converted her, which is why she kept her appearance too. Firehammer takes this in. Yongo presses ahead and hands over the devoured Minotaur horn, asking if Firehammer can use it to forge some proper weapons for them. Firehammer looks it over and confirms it is indeed a good material. But he still needs other materials, and it does not look like there are any around here. Yongo smiles and tells him to relax, because this is the Great Boneyard. Materials will be coming right up. Right on cue, something crashes through the cave ceiling above them, debris exploding outward as a massive shape descends through the newly opened hole. Something enormous and dark crashes through the ceiling and hammers into the boneyard floor in a crater of cracked stone, bristling with edges. It was not invited, and Yongo is already watching. The discarded demonic iron bracelet sits on the stone floor, its faint blue glow still pulsing. Firehammer has been busy. A clang of metal and a burst of orange fire as the forging hammer comes down, sparks scattering across the cave floor. The pyroblast shroom stands at attention nearby while a vein of demonic iron, or embedded right in the cavern wall, glows blue under Firehammer's practiced eye. A small farmer shroom tends the furnace, its little cap bobbing in the heat, keeping the fire at exactly the temperature Firehammer needs. Firehammer calls out his forging hammer skill and brings it crashing down, and the metal takes shape in a blaze of white-hot sparks. The finished weapons land at Yongo's feet. Firehammer tells the boss the gear is done, and he even used the leftover scraps to make some pants and shoes. Yongo holds up a long blade and immediately lights up. "These look way better than those crude orc axes from before," he says. "Now this is a proper sword." The stat card confirms it, a level 5 refined double-edged sword. It holds a small amount of magic power, lets the user channel spells through the blade, but the material is fairly ordinary, so prolonged high-intensity spellcasting may damage it. Saifeng receives hers next, a refined hunter blade bow. She turns it over in her hands, the weapon already humming with faint magical resonance along its curved blade edge. The readout details a level 5 refined hunter blade bow. She can use her own mycelium as the bowstring and channel spells directly through the arrows, though firing overly powerful enchanted shots risks damaging the bow. Firehammer also mentions, almost as an afterthought, that he stitched the small magic pouches into the lining of their clothes. Yongo nods, satisfied. Now they can pull weapons straight out of their pockets. Saifeng asks where they are heading next. Yongo grins. "They are clearing this whole floor," he says. He has spent the past few days scouting the area with the mycelium network, mapping every passage. Scout nodes glow pink across the ceiling above them. The only way up is to fight through every floor, and threats cannot linger this close to home. Saifeng wonders why Firehammer is not coming, noting he hits people even harder than he hammers iron. Yongo answers that someone has to guard the base, and through the shared network Firehammer still earns EXP from their kills. Firehammer's boots, wreathed in embers, step into position at the base entrance as the two fighters move out. They barely make it down the corridor before a deep mechanical groan fills the air and debris starts falling. Yongo spins, eye sharp. A massive stone wall drops from the ceiling with a crash, slicing the corridor in half and separating Yongo from Saifeng in an instant. They scatter on opposite sides as dust and rock fragments fill the air. Yongo faces the enormous slab, hidden in the magic runes. No wonder the scout shroom missed it. Then he smirks. A wall this thick? One punch is all it takes. He presses a hand flat against the stone, feeling the rune network vibrating through the rock. The wall is reinforced with a magic array too. A system notification flares. Firehammer's flame mycelium has been shared. Yongo wraps the skill around both fists, fire blooming along his knuckles, and fires a full explosive punch straight into the surface. The flame mycelium detonates on contact, a fire-based explosive attack wrapping his fists in a ring of combustion. The wall shudders but holds. He hauls back and swings harder, the blow punching a small glowing crater into the surface, but the magic reinforcement absorbs the rest. Concentric rings of golden rune light radiate outward from the impact point. The array is eating every ounce of force he throws at it. He exhales, wiping dust from his face. Breaking through is not an option right now. Saifeng, and he will have to take separate paths. Yongo turns away from the wall, adjusting his sword in its pocket pouch. He rolls his shoulders and steps forward into the darkness. A system banner reads, "Secret Realm, Slippery Corridor." The stonework beyond is perfectly tiled, designed for something. Even the terrain changed after the separation. He steps through. Dozens of small blue lights blink on in the dark beyond the arch, slurping sounds echo off the stone. His eyes narrow, reading the darkness. "So this is a snail nest," he says flatly. A mob of level 3 electro-snails swarm fills the corridor, shells bristling with blue static, eye stalks trained directly on him. One of the lead snails rears up and recognizes him immediately, snarling that he is the one who killed their brothers in the Grand Catacombs. Its eye stalks crackle with blue electricity as it screams at the swarm to get him. Lightning bolts fan out across the tiled floor in jagged blue arcs, racing straight toward Yongo. He stands his ground, watching the spread. "More lightning users," he mutters. The system announces, "Electroshroom transplanted." He plants the skill through the mycelium network, and a burst of red and blue energy rips across the corridor, absorbing the discharge. The swarm cheers, thinking they landed a hit. One snail asks if they have avenged their brothers yet. A red slash cuts across the first snail shell, answered immediately by a spray of purple goo. The answer is no. Yongo moves through the swarm with his new blade. The refined, double-edged sword carving arcs through shells while the electro-shrooms absorbed lightning crackles back at the snails on contact. He is too fast, the snails shriek, and the lead snail orders the whole swarm to switch to shellless mode and increase their speed. They shed their heavy shells in unison, becoming lean, sleek, crackling blurs. The lead snail boasts that now he will see the real terror of the shellless tribe. A burst of pink mycelial energy erupts among them. The nearest snail recoils, eye stalks wide. Is this mycelium? Red mycelial threads lash out from every direction, snaring the shellless snails mid-sprint, looping around their eye stalks and pulling them down to the stone floor. Yongo drops into a wide sword stance and calls out mycelial flashburn, his eyes burning gold, the blade igniting along its edge. He drags the burning blade through the pinned swarm in one sweeping horizontal slash, fire running the length of every trapped mycelial thread. The system floods with EXP notifications, one line stacking on the next. EXP increased. EXP increased. EXP increased. The whole swarm is gone. The slippery corridor boss door glows at the far end, cracks of orange light spidering across the stone seal as it starts to open. The door explodes outward. Rubble and dust roll forward in a wave, smoldering splinters of wood from the doorframe scattering across the corridor floor. Yongo walks through the settling dust into a wide, circular chamber. This should be the boss room, he says. But something feels off. He scans the empty chamber. Why is it empty? His expression is careful rather than relaxed, the kind of face he makes when he suspects the answer is about to introduce itself. A single red light blinks on in the ceiling. He registers it a half-second before the trap fires, diving sideways as a shockwave tears across the stone beneath his feet. The impact launches him into a spin, the room blurring around him as he fights to get his feet back under him. He slides hard across the cracked floor, one hand down for balance, his sword skidding out of reach. Something enormous is filling the space above him. He looks up and sees a massive snail shell dropping toward him like a drill. He gets one word out. A snail shell? The shell slams into the floor where he was standing, the impact sending a shockwave through the stone and throwing debris in every direction. Yongo catches his sword out of the air mid-recovery and drives it into the shell's surface, sparks flying as the blade grinds across the armored exterior, fighting for any kind of purchase. The shell rolls, throwing him off, and he hits the far wall with a grunt, the impact rattling dust from the ceiling. He plants his feet, sword raised, and slams the blade directly into the spinning shell again, holding his ground this time as sparks shower around him. The shell cracks. He drives through the break with a burst of concentrated force, shattering the outer layer in a cascade of pink energy. The broken pieces scatter, and the chamber fills with an eerie silence before a new red glow bleeds through the smoke and dust. Yongo channels mycelial lightning conduit, threading the absorbed electroshroom energy down through the cracked floor in a branching web of red and white light, turning the whole chamber surface into a conductor. The discharge detonates across the floor in a blinding pink-white burst, the shockwave cracking the stone outward in every direction. The smoke begins to clear, and in the rubble something is still standing. A figure in dark armor, blue-skinned, a katana at its hip and a second set of eyes on its eye stalks. The stat label reads, Level 5 Snail King. The Snail King strides forward through the wreckage, unhurried. Yongo crouches low, sword in hand, one eye still blazing red. So it has a second phase, he says. Interesting. The Snail King's katana tears through the air, and Yongo barely ducks under it, sparks scattering across the flooded chamber floor. Far away on the other side of the sealed wall, Saifeng crouches on her side of the corridor, etching idle lines into the stone with an arrowhead. She thinks to herself that ever since that wall dropped between them, there has not been a single monster on her side. She is at least collecting shared experience from the small fry falling on the leader's side, though she really wants to go help him, knowing he is deep in a fierce boss fight right now. Back in the boss chamber, the Snail King's shell slams the floor and fracture lines spider outward from the impact. Yongo rolls clear, comes up on his feet, sword in hand. He drives his blade up to meet the next strike, and the two weapons collide in a burst of white light, the impact rattling through his arms. He skids hard across the wet floor and catches himself low before he goes over the edge. The Snail King's spinning shell rockets at him again, a blurred disk of black armor. He sidesteps, and the shell punches a crater in the floor exactly where he stood. The shell rolls back to its owner, and Yongo watches it return, mind already working. The Snail King has flooded the chamber with water magic, the floor ankle-deep, and every wall sheeting with water. Yongo stares at the cascade, thinking, water magic. His mycelium threads try to root into the floor and slide right off, sputtering out in the rushing current. Every anchor dissolves. Pink threads severed the moment they touch the slick surface. He slips and goes down on one knee as the Snail King closes in. On the ground, he thinks it through. He does not know what that slime does, but dodging it first is definitely the right move. He sees it now. Whatever threads did take hold have been cut clean at the root by the slick coating. The mycelium came off. He realizes, eyes going wide. He presses his palm flat against the flooded floor, impossibly slick. Dark water rushes past as the floor heaves from the next incoming strike. He throws his sword up in a two-handed block and catches the katana dead on, sparks exploding as his arms shudder under a level 5 boss hitting him with everything. The Snail King swings twice more in rapid succession, spinning sweeps that send Yongo tumbling backward through the air. That single cold eye watches him fall with complete certainty. The picture comes together. The ceiling is coated in the same slime, which is why the mycelium came off. The Snail King's voice booms. This is my home turf, and you have no chance of winning. The katana swings again, a horizontal crescent of white light through the water. Yongo launches airborne at the last second, flips over the blade, and kicks down hard into the Snail King's shell, throwing it back a step. The shell absorbs it, and the boss rushes back in, enormous body blotting the light. Yongo meets it in the dark water, red eyes steady, refusing to give another inch. He channels mycelium through his blade and stabs it into the water, sending a pink pulse crackling across the flooded floor, using the water's own conductivity to carry the shock to the boss. They land apart in the flooded chamber, and the boss speaks with genuine curiosity for the first time. It says it saw him use mycelium, asks if he is a mushroom man, then whether he really thinks he can compete with the snail men for the bottom layer ecological niche. The water lights up as the mycelium pulse reaches the boss's legs, pink lightning snapping through the threads. The Snail King bobs up unfazed, eye stalks twitching, grin unchanged. It slams down and fires its own electric current through the water, countering the mycelium charge. The threads dissolve in pink sparks as the boss's current overwhelms them. The Snail King spins up a rising tornado of electric energy at the center of the chamber. Yongo watches it carefully, sweat on his face, already plotting his next angle. The Snail King sneers. Yongo already used that conductivity trick once, and it did not think he would try it twice. It explains the counter plainly. If it can control the water's slickness, it can just as easily raise the water's electrical resistance and weaken his shocks. Yongo's eyes burn red. He grants the boss its point on water control, then counters. As the saying goes, dodging well is not as good as standing in the right spot. The Snail King stares up from the dry patch it retreated to, eye stalks rigid, not yet understanding. Red mycelium threads grid the entire underwater floor, already anchored in the stone, glowing up through the water. The boss's voice comes out strangled. When did the floor get covered in mycelium? The follow-up question comes even as the answer dawns on it. Did it just retreat right into the trap? The floor grid blazes pink around the Snail King as the mycelium ignites all at once. The Snail King shouts that it can still change the water's resistance and weaken the attacks, but the eye stalks are twitching faster now. Yongo presses his palm to the cave floor, red energy spreading outward as he activates the mycelium grid buried under the water. The Snail King starts telling him he really will not learn until he is staring death in the face, and then fire erupts straight up through the flooded floor. The boss chokes on its punchline, surrounded by orange flames, screaming huh. The ignite skill tears through every thread at once, the whole grid going up in a column of fire that boils the water and turns the chamber into a furnace. Steam and smoke billow to the ceiling as Yongo watches from the one dry pocket at the cave wall. He steps forward through the haze as the smoke clears, and the Snail King's silhouette emerges in the wreckage. The Snail King is burned, its shell cracked, black fluid spattered across the stone. It asks in a broken voice why he suddenly switched to fire attacks. It manages one more line as it slides toward the ground. You have no martial honor. Then it collapses, leaving a long smear of black across the floor. The level up wave hits immediately, red light flooding Yongo's body as the system confirms the Snail King is down. The system confirms, level 6 for him and every subordinate. They can now grow mycelial pouches directly on their bodies to store and compress equipment. He also unlocks boomshroom guards, heavy soldiers that can fight melee or ranged, and when their HP hits 0 they convert into a homing flaming sword that locks on and explodes. Scout shrooms upgrade into network download ports, so allies can pull skills and data through the mycelium from any distance. Saifeng earns the Spore Cluster Arrow, build rage through normal attacks, then fire one massive shot that scatters spore bombs across a wide area on impact. Firehammer gains Dwarven Refining. Once his rage is full, his hammer releases intense heat that breaks down impurities and refines whatever material it strikes. The isolation seal wall lifts and the passage to Saifeng reopens. Yango moves into the back of the boss room and immediately picks up a strange Hymu's smell rising from the rubble. He drops into the debris and starts digging with both hands, chasing the source of that unfamiliar smell. Saifeng arrives through the open passage and crouches beside him, watching curiously. Beneath the rubble, compressed against the cave floor, sits a dense cluster of dark lumps, black and wet, packed in together like rough coal. Yango holds one up and asks what it is. Firehammer arrives, takes one look, and identifies it. Blackrot stone, lumps formed over many years from magical waste and Hymu's fused in the deep rock. Yango turns it over in his hand and says it does not sound like it is worth much. Firehammer confirms, trash plus trash is still trash. No normal alchemist or blacksmith would give it a second look. Yango stares at him. Then Firehammer adds, but that is before becoming a mushroom man. Firehammer tosses the blackrot stone in one massive hand, eyes lit up. To him, this is good stuff. The trace magical residue locked inside is nearly impossible to extract normally, but for him now, it is child's play. He activates mycelium extraction, drives his fists into the lump, and begins pulling the residue free, the stone glowing from inside as the magic comes out. His fist crushes the core in a burst of light. Residue extraction complete. Floating in the air is a slender, gleaming shard, bright as a splinter of mirror, a magic silverstone fragment. Firehammer says with a little luck, they can refine epic-tier mana fragments out of stuff everyone else throws away. Yango stares at the fragment with wide eyes. Materials of this quality, he says, would be worth an absolute fortune to players. But Firehammer peers at the fragment and notes it is quite small. He does not think they can make much with only one. Yango points at the pile still buried in the rubble and tells Firehammer this cave is his. Firehammer grins. Give him some time, and he can dig up even more from underneath. Firehammer gets to work, mycelial energy crackling as he tears into the rubble, and his extraction skill runs on the material underneath. A short while later, stone rings against stone as Firehammer's extraction hits a rhythm. Notifications cascade. Magic ironstone fragment. Magic aluminum stone fragment. Magic silverstone fragment. Magic copperstone fragment. Magic goldstone fragment. Each one sparkling into the air as Firehammer works through the pile. Rocks start raining from the ceiling. Yango shouts, dig all you want, but do not bring the whole cave down. Firehammer yells back, that wasn't me. Something enormous forces itself up through the cave floor, great curved black limbs tearing through the stone, sending slabs of rock spinning in every direction. A gaping mouth ringed with glowing blue teeth yawns open in the darkness below, and the creature keeps coming. Something enormous crashes up through the cave floor, all glowing blue teeth and red eyes, screaming kill, kill, kill. It lands with both fists, splitting the stone, and looks around for a target. Yango is already moving. He snatches the creature before it can orient itself, and tells it the fighting and killing is not its turn yet, ordering it to stay back and help Firehammer with odd jobs instead. Then he turns to Saifeng. She goes. Saifeng answers yes, boss, and a notification ripples through the mycelium network. The new shroom soldiers have been integrated and can be deployed at any time. A scout shroom is already on the move, pressing deeper into the tunnels. Its report comes back immediately. The enemy is about to bore through the ceiling of the blackrot stone cave. Yango decides they cannot let it in and calls the order to distract it and drag the battlefield into the corridor. Yango crosses his arms and waits, already thinking through the plan. The scout shroom darts toward the tunnel opening where a massive drill-mouthed body is already boring through. It chirps its acknowledgement, ABA, ABA, and leads the thing away. The creature follows, neck stretching out into the corridor, still calling ABA, ABA back into the dark. Then the whole tunnel explodes with spinning cyan blades and debris as the thing fully erupts from the rock. A black armored body pours through the breach, massive and glistening, filling the corridor. Firehammer is already at Yongo's side, hammer sparking. Yongo wonders aloud what kind of bug charges straight for a clear target like this. Firehammer identifies it from the sound, a carrion black bug. They have a natural obsession with high amuse, he explains, and occupy the same ecological niche as the snails. Only they are even stronger competitors. He adds that he can make this fight easier, and tells them to wait while he finishes crafting. His hammer swings down in a shower of sparks. Saifeng has already closed with the carrion black bug. She slides low across the cave floor, blade in hand, and drives a slash into its flank. The blade skids off. The creature's eye, framed by those glowing cyan teeth, does not even flinch. She is not done. Rage gauge full, Saifeng presses in and hammers the shell with 3 rapid strikes, sending sparks flying in every direction. The force of her own blows sends her skidding backward across the stone floor, landing in a crouch. The carrion blackbug's shell smokes, but holds, and Saifeng grimaces. That shell is tough, she says. She steadies herself with her blade, catching her breath. It even chipped the boss's blade, she adds, and then relays what King Oyster has just passed through the network. Firehammer said the new gear he forged is ready. Download it straight from the mycelium network. A tiny scout shroom zips over and presses against Saifeng's shoulder, the conduit for the transfer. The mushroom pulses against her, the cap flush with her back. A download ring appears, 6%. 86%. Downloading. The carrion blackbug grinds forward, the glow of its teeth filling the corridor. Download complete. A new weapon materializes in Saifeng's hands, the magic silver arrow. Saifeng surges upward, pink-red energy blazing along her frame as she knocks the arrow and draws. She looses. The arrow tears through the air and detonates against the carrion blackbug shell in a burst of hot light. Armor-piercing explosive arrow. The explosion tears up through the creature's body in a column of red and pink fire. The blast hurls the carrion blackbug sideways into the cave wall. Saifeng drops through the smoke, bow still in hand, landing in a controlled fall. The armor-piercing explosive arrow has finally found the gap. Pink bolts rake across the shell, and the creature's red eyes dim as the damage registers. The carrion blackbug spins and drives itself towards Saifeng, teeth first. A blinding flash. The impact caves in the shell. Saifeng drives the attack home, and the creature's enormous body buckles under the force. Carrion blackbug eliminated. EXP increased. Saifeng stands in the settling smoke, dress torn, surrounded by glowing blue shell fragments. Yongo tells her not to relax just yet. There is more. A scout shroom bobs up beside her head, and she looks over. More? The scout farther out has already spotted another carrion blackbug heading their way. The second one is already emerging from the tunnel wall. Yongo tells her to hurry and convert Hayumuse from the monster corpse to recover her stamina. In the meantime, he will use the newly cultivated shroom soldiers to hold it off. He summons them through the network. A Lv.1 boom shroom guard is loaded and materializes in a burst of crackling pink energy. The boom shroom guard stands ready, spear planted, orange eyes blazing inside its spotted red cap. A second one loads beside it. Yongo can only download 2, and he is wondering why. A notification explains, the current maximum roster is 6, and they are already full. Excluding the transplanted Electro Shroom and Fire Shroom, the active roster already has the boss, Firehammer, 1 Worker Shroom, and the 2 Boom Shrooms. That is exactly 6. If they count Saifeng too, someone points out, would that not put them over the limit? She turns, one eyebrow raised, and says she is an unofficial shroom, you could say. The second carrion blackbug forces its way through the cave wall. It detonates out of the stone in a burst of cyan energy. The creature holds its mouth shut, eye scanning. Yongo wonders if it is keeping its mouth closed because it is afraid of another explosive arrow. It is not afraid. One of the boom shroom guards charges forward at full speed. The carrion blackbug opens wide and swallows the guard whole. A single flame blooms inside the creature's throat, then a self-destruct flying sword ignites. The carrion blackbug's body spins as the internal explosion rips through it, shredding the armored shell from the inside. The second boom shroom guard presses in on the stunned creature, blade blazing, landing hit after hit on the cracked shell. The guard swings and drives the blade clean into the carrion blackbug's eye, sparks flying at the point of impact. The guard spins on the shell's surface, searching for the next gap. A single sword strike sends the enormous carrion blackbug tumbling backward. Saifeng stares at the guard in disbelief. She watches the smoke clear and says this new shroom soldier must be a strength type because it just sent that huge blackbug flying with a single strike. Both boom shroom guards advance through the wreckage, weapons trailing. The second carrion black bug is still airborne, its body hurtling across the corridor toward the cave wall. The guard rides it down, driving the spear into the shell as sparks burst from the point of contact. They land together. The guard pins the creature to the ground, then activates self-destruct flying sword again. The sword ignites midair and tears through the carrion black bug's open maw in a trail of fire. The explosion blooms inside its body, orange and gold, and the creature goes still. EXP floods in. The Mushroom Man tribe hits level 7, and King Oyster unlocks the boss-exclusive skill Lone Sovereign. For each subordinate missing from his side, whether dead or simply not nearby, the Shroom King's all stats increase by 10%, up to a maximum of 100%. Scout Shrooms also gain a new ability, hovering directly in the air without needing to twist their caps. 2 new Shroom soldiers become available. First, the Archer Shroom, a ranged fighter that uses a short sword at close range, fires split arrows with different elemental attributes, and can spread a spore parachute from its cap for short-distance gliding. When an Archer Shroom stays beside Saifeng, it gains the Captain's Encouragement effect, all stats plus 10%. Second, the Rot Thorax Shroom, a worker shroom that has absorbed the carrion blackbug's burrowing ability. It can drill through mountains, dig tunnels, and remodel caves. When beside Firehammer, it gains the Captain's Encouragement effect, work efficiency plus 10%. The kingdom just got a demolition crew. Saifeng is watching the Shroom soldiers fight, and she cannot quite believe what she's seeing. These new Shroom soldiers don't just have incredible individual power. She says, their teamwork is exceptionally high. There is no way soulless Shroom soldiers could fight this smoothly on their own. Something is directing them, and she already knows what. The boss must be controlling them through the mycelial network, of course. Deep in the dungeon, threads of pink light trace along the stone floor like circuitry, linking King Oyster's network to every soldier on the field. Yongo sits perched on his mushroom throne, one hand raised to his chin, an amused glint in his red eyes. Controlling Shroom soldiers in battle, he thinks, is kind of like playing a video game. His image ripples through the network link to Saifeng. He tells her to clean up the battlefield, and if they find anything useful, bring it to Firehammer. They'll see what kind of equipment he can make with it. Understood, she answers, and gets to work. Saifeng moves through the wreckage, glowing blue bug fragments scattered across the dungeon floor around her. What remains of a scavenger black bug pulses with pink light as the mycelial network pulls it apart and absorbs it. Red stains and cracks mark the stone where the carrion black bugs fell. The system confirms it. Scavenger black bug corpse decomposed and absorbed. King Oyster has acquired the limited skill black tough skin. His epidermis is now as hard as a black bug's, though it will shatter and reconstruct after physical damage exceeds 50% of his HP. Black tough skin is unavailable during reconstruction. Saifeng crouches over a curved blue fang the size of her forearm. These teeth are really tough, she says, still completely intact even after several explosions. They'll definitely make great materials for Firehammer to forge weapons. From high above, the dungeon floor looks small and quiet. Saifeng a tiny figure gathering salvage in the middle of it. Far above the bottom floor, something is opening. A dark spiral shaft bores downward through stone, wide and deep. At the bottom of that shaft, a pair of purple eyes glow in the dark. The figure belongs to the bottom floor administrator, Grim Reaper number 10. His first problem, all the monsters on the bottom floor stopped responding. His second, he sent down 2 black bugs with levels clearly higher than anything on that floor, and somehow they kicked the bucket fast. If worst comes to worst, he mutters, he'll have to go down there himself. Then his masked face tightens. Yeah, right. He barely makes any money a month. Why would he risk his life? Anyway, he says with a sweep of his robes, he's got plenty of cannon fodder. He spreads his arms wide over a rocky ledge packed with small squirming creatures and shouts down at them. Which of you wants to become a player? 2 bacteria monsters, a round pink one and a yellowish one bristling with spiky hair, pop up from the rocks. Can bacteria monsters become players too? The Grim Reaper waves one purple hand dismissively. While they're running around in this dungeon, he tells them, their status is whatever he grants them. He strikes the ground with his staff, and a burst of purple energy splits the air. The system registers the grant. Bacteria monster player privileges unlocked. Bacteria players can now move freely, open treasure chests, and fight monsters. The Grim Reaper looms at the edge of the ledge, his robes billowing, a swarm of tiny bacteria creatures massing below him. Go, he says. Eliminate the bug on the bottom floor, and the entire bottom floor, and every black rotstone down there will be theirs. The bacteria pour off the ledge in a cascade, dozens of colored blob creatures tumbling and skittering downward. A squad of them spreads across the cracked stone walls, crawling down in formation. The dark red horned one, clearly the leader, glowers at the empty dungeon floor. Boss, where is this bug? They haven't seen a single hair of it so far. A small blue bacteria rounds a corner and stops. There is a large stone treasure chest sitting against the wall. The blue bacteria's eyes go wide. After having such moldy luck for so long, it finally gets to open a treasure chest. And it is not sharing a single coin with the other bacteria. It bounces up to the chest, barely reaching the latch. It stares at the chest with enormous hungry eyes. It rears back and drives a stubby fist straight into the lid. The chest goes flying, tumbling across the dungeon floor. It slams down and cracks open on the stone. Red energy lines spiral around the blue bacteria as it charges up some kind of spinning attack, its smaller companions watching from behind. A blade of pale light slashes through the air toward it. The blue bacteria whips its head sideways. There is a crack in the stone right next to it. It stares at it with a giant question mark. Something dark and fast sweeps across the terrain. Red energy coils snap around the blue bacteria and yank it off its feet. It struggles, making muffled sounds. It slams into the ground hard enough to crack the stone in a starburst. The other bacteria freeze, staring. 3 bacteria regroup. The horned one asks, wasn't the blue one supposed to come down with them? Where did all the other bacteria go? An impact detonates against one of them, a shockwave of white light. A thin filament of wire or string trails from above. Something shot that attack from the high rock ledges. The dark horned bacteria boss snaps its head up toward the walls. Who's there? A small figure drops from the rock face. A girl in a pink skirt and a red-spotted mushroom cap hat. A bow crackling with pink lightning in her hands. A stat card reading Lv.1 Archer, Shroom Milichin. She lands and immediately says she's sorry. From behind, Saifeng snaps at her. Idiot. Why is she apologizing to the enemy? Saifeng watches Milichin with a flat expression, thinking to herself, to think the archer shroom cultivated from the corpse of such a fierce black bug would turn out to have this kind of personality. Still apologizing, Milichin knocks another arrow and fires it anyway. It blazes out in a burst of red energy. The shot connects with a crack of lightning, sparks sheeting off in every direction. The bacteria boss takes the hit, its body ringing with the impact. The boss rounds on her with glowing red eyes. Don't think it's a pushover just because it hasn't shown its true might, it says. You little. It launches into a counterattack, a dark blade of energy slashing upward. The boss closes in, rasping one word at Milichin, germ. A smaller red horned bacteria takes an arrow in its side and keeps running anyway. 3 bacteria regroup on the rocks, still on their feet. The boss presses forward with real menace now. Their bacteria clan has survived for millions of years under the harshest conditions, it says. Did they really think mere physical attacks could wipe out elite bacteria? That lands. Milichin's eyes go wide. To kill bacteria, she blurts out, you need high heat. She raises a fist and fire blooms in her palm, roaring up in orange and red. Fire and red energy spiral through the chamber together in tight loops, building fast. A flaming arrow drives straight into the bacteria boss. The whole area erupts in roiling orange fire. Milichin lands on the ledge, bow raised, and pumps a fist. Yay, she stammers. She won the very first battle of her life. Saifeng is not celebrating. Confirm the kill first, she snaps. If they aren't dead, finish them off. Celebrate after you land the finishing blow. Saifeng's eye narrows. Milichin freezes, her mushroom cap tilted sideways, the celebration dying on her face. A massive detonation of blue-white energy blasts outward from the ground behind them. Something survived the fire. The Scorpion Beast King lands on a shattered rock slab, staring at what just happened, and the question forms in his head. Is this what it feels like to be a player? The Lv.8 Scorpion Beast King answers himself out loud, exhilarated, telling the air that it is not just about leaving his territory and moving freely. He has broken through his own limits. He crouches on the rubble, one massive claw scraping the stone, smoke still curling off the wreckage around him. Yango turns to Milichin, the archer shroom, and tells her this monster is not something she can handle. She should find a spot further away and give him ranged support. Milichin, wide-eyed behind her spotted mushroom cap, nods and scrambles back. She calls back that she is very sorry for the trouble, Captain, and sprints to the rear as Yango's blade arc tears into the cliff face with a crack of splitting rock. The slash lands. Saifeng arrives from distance in 3 bounding steps, bow already drawn, and looses 3 rapid shots that spiral out in tight arcs toward the Scorpion Beast King. The arrows ring against the beast's shell, sparks flying. The Scorpion Beast King fires back with his eye beam, a gout of orange fire that sears across the ground. My Lv.1's explosive arrow streaks in from the flank and detonates against the beast with a full-sized boom, sending him spinning sideways. The Scorpion Beast King shakes himself off and bellows that it is too weak, his voice contemptuous. My Lv.1 peeks out from cover, bow clutched in both hands, and breathes that her explosive arrow was deflected. Making him turn his head is enough for now, she tells herself. Saifeng's face is calm, calculating. Making him turn his head is all she needs. She sprints in, loosing 3 pink-lit arrows that trail mycelial threads behind them, planting them into the beast from 3 angles at once. The Scorpion Beast King laughs and roars at the same time, asking if they have all lost their minds from his kingly aura, those 3 shots missing entirely. He catches himself. All 3 shots missed, he says, his laughter stopping. Then he looks down. The arrows are embedded in the terrain around him, their tails connected to him by glowing red mycelial threads stretching back to Saifeng's hand. He asks, slowly, whether the arrows' tails are connected to mycelium. He is staked to a triangle of thread, 3 threads drawn tight from both flanking boulders and a point directly ahead, pinning him at the center while he figures out what is happening. Energy crackles through the threads and detonates across his body. He tells himself it is just fungal threads, and he can snap them with a little bit of force. Break, 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 he chants, and hurls his power outward through the threads, the pink explosion shredding the web around him. Saifeng tilts her head and watches the threads snap one by one, the pink sparks still crackling past her face, unmoved. The moment the web breaks, the Scorpion Beast King crashes to the ground, tangled in threads, and Saifeng is already closing the distance at a run. Yango calls out quickly, "Go land the finishing blow, chop it off." My Lv.1 nods, tiny and determined beside him, and darts forward. A giant hand plunges down from above, the beast's claws swinging towards Saifeng as the two collide in the middle space between them. Yango's crescent slash cuts through the dark. Yango locks eyes with the beast at point-blank range, his stare flat. A blade of pink energy shears across the Scorpion Beast King's neck. The beast is down, mycelial threads pinning him to the cave floor. My Lv.1 trembles at the edge of the frame. The Scorpion Beast King sees the Mushroom Guard standing right next to him and shouts, "Why isn't the Mushroom Guard attacking? Why is he frozen in place?" The Scorpion Beast King opens his mouth in a massive tooth-filled grin and shouts, "Ha." He explains, when he was shocked until he barely had a breath left, he started trying to infect the fungal threads. He realized they are all connected to the same mycelial network, so this big idiot was already infected before he even swung his sword. Now the Mushroom Guard will not listen to their commands anymore. Orange infection blooms across the Mushroom Guard's body. The beast surges upright, bristling with red energy, and sneers, "Since they all love being online so much, then let them get infected together." The detonation tears through Saifeng's side, and she is flung inverted across the arena, pink sparks streaming off her as she falls. A swarm of golden spiky bacteria orbs floods the cavern ceiling, all of them grinning with tiny vicious mouths. The Scorpion Beast King cackles. Yango's eyes go wide, red blazing in his irises. He shouts the order through the network. All shrooms disconnect from the network and stay offline. He snaps that he will be right there, and Saifeng launches herself back into range, slashing through a thread with a pink-lit blade. My Lv.1 catches the severed thread at a dead run, sparks still fizzing off her fingers. But the disconnect order came too late. Saifeng stares at her own hand, glittering particles crawling up past her wrist, and asks what just happened. Did they still get infected? The answer is yes. The infection blazes across her torso and legs, her body lighting up with spreading spores as she drops to one knee, gasping. A system warning flares, severe proliferation infection. My Lv.1 is down on her back, body shimmering with the same infection, unable to rise. The Scorpion Beast King looms over them from a distance and announces gleefully that they cannot move now. Can they? He stretches one claw skyward and declares that they thought disconnecting from the network would be enough, but his bacteria can spread through the air too. They are toast. He fixates on Yango now, one enormous eye narrowing, certain this is over. Yango is already moving, a spiral of wind cutting loose around him as he charges in. He drives a straight punch straight into the ground at the Scorpion Beast King's feet, cratering the stone. Yango stands over Saifeng, who is kneeling on the broken ground. He tells her it is not her fault and the bad intel was on him. He orders her to take the others and fall back, and says to leave the rest to him. Yango turns to face the Scorpion Beast King alone, walking forward into the settling dust. The Scorpion Beast King smashes both claws against the ground and charges, orange cores blazing on his shell. Yongo faces him as the tiny silhouette of the beast spins in midair above them, and the beast says something. Yongo does not respond, standing with fists clenched. Yongo brings a blade arc down in a long straight line, and the Scorpion Beast King scrambles to block it, barely catching the impact with crossed claws. Yongo abandons the blade and pivots into close range, hammering the beast across the face with a straight punch. The beast's claw slashes back immediately, forcing Yongo to catch it on his forearm and twist. A notification pings. One subordinate has retreated from the battlefield, all stats plus 10%. Yongo drives a crackling downward blow, electricity arcing off the impact. Orange lines of force explode outward from the hit. Yongo's eye cuts sideways, cold and steady. The Scorpion Beast King laughs again, but the confidence is thinner now. A second notification, 2 subordinates have retreated from the battlefield, all stats plus 20%. Yongo's expression does not change. He says simply, umph. Yongo grabs the beast by the face and drives him headfirst into the floor. The Scorpion Beast King takes the impact with both eyes wide. Yongo leaps, inverts, and hammers a 2-fisted slam down into the crater, driving the beast deeper into the cracked stone. Yongo rises over the beast and stares down, unhurried. The Scorpion Beast King is buried in rubble, still smoldering, and demands to know why this guy's punches keep getting heavier and heavier. A lattice of white energy lines crisscrosses the arena as Yongo releases everything at once, the final blow landing on the Scorpion Beast King beneath a cage of crackling force. Yongo keeps swinging, telling himself he can't stop attacking until the system confirms the kill. The Scorpion Beast King's enormous eye jolts wide open. It bares its jagged teeth in a crouch, bloodied but far from dead. It laughs, telling Yongo that guys like him just never learn. The fiercer the close quarters brawl, the faster the infection spreads. It looks Yongo dead in the eye and complains that he really didn't hold back at all and nearly hacked it to death. But then it spots the colony of parasitic bacteria still living on Yongo's skin and triggers them, announcing parasitic bacteria healing as it knits its own wounds back together. It declares that now things are really starting. Yongo's face is half covered in bacterial discoloration, eyes cold and calculating. He announces it's his turn to counterattack and lunges off the cracked wall, slashing down through the Scorpion Beast King with a full-body strike that draws blood. He lands running, dragging debris in his wake. The shockwave blows dust across the floor. The Scorpion Beast King's glowing red eyes narrow to slits. Yongo's face is speckled with bacterial bruising, but his eyes are completely steady as the system announces tetanus blade. Pink bacterial blades slash out in all directions, shredding through the Scorpion Beast King's body in a dozen simultaneous cuts. He pivots, and the system calls Golden Bacillus Blade, a sweeping magenta arc of bacteria-laced energy that carves across the arena. The system fires again, Bacillus Blade. The Scorpion Beast King is thrown through a cage of blue energy slashes, blood spraying across the floor. One of the blades punches clean through the stone wall behind it. Yongo calls his final strike. He drops from above, wreathed in gold light, driving his knee straight into the Scorpion Beast King and cratering the floor. The Scorpion Beast King snarls that mere physical damage means nothing as long as its bacteria keep regenerating. But then Yongo's bacterial plaques simply vanish. He stands straight, the discoloration gone, watching the creature with calm contempt, and the Scorpion Beast King stares back, demanding to know what happened to its bacteria. The creature's own eye twitches. A beam of orange fire lances straight through the Scorpion Beast King's torso. Pink bacteria-laced energy tears through it from the other direction, and the creature shouts that this makes no sense. The system notifies that all subordinates have evacuated, locking in a 60% stat boost. It also reveals a new shared tyrant skill, limited barrier skin, an incredibly hard epidermis that shatters and then regenerates after taking physical damage above 50% HP, but cannot be used during the regeneration window. A brilliant spark erupts between Yongo and the Scorpion Beast King as his scythe connects, lighting the arena with red and white energy. He follows through with a full punch detonation, sparks and rubble exploding outward. Yongo tells the creature that the secret is antibiotics, and the Scorpion Beast King skids backward, a gaping ring of white energy still orbiting the point of impact, screaming the word back at him in disbelief. He launches a spinning kick wrapped in pink mycelial light and a red laser thread. It connects, splashing orange fluid across the creature's face and chest. The Scorpion Beast King skids across the floor, leaving a trail of glowing orange. Yongo stands high above on a ridge, red tether still active, and yells at it to get back up here as he whips the creature back toward him. The Scorpion Beast King's face fills the frame, eyes wide in shock, trailing light as it is yanked back. The story flashes back one day, inside the Great Cemetery. Yongo stands face to face with a small pink-capped mushroom subordinate, explaining that these black rot stones contain trace antibiotic residue from alchemy flasks discarded by high-level players, which slowly seeped into the stone over time. He looks upward with a satisfied expression and says one man's trash is another man's treasure. Useless to the players, priceless to him. He extends a hand to the subordinate and tells it to extract a bit more because it will be useful later. The mushroom answers yes. Back in the present, the system announces antibiotics infused. Yongo releases a sweeping magenta arc loaded with antibiotic energy, the strike cutting across the cracked stone floor. The Scorpion Beast King is engulfed in a red and white lightning burst, its body torn apart by the antibiotic-charged impact. The system names the move Antibiotic Strike, and spiraling rings of white energy coil inward to the point of contact. The shockwave rips across the entire battlefield floor, debris flying in every direction. From above, the Scorpion Beast King lies in the center of a crumbling crater, its body shrunken and pale, orange fluid spreading around it. Up close, a gaping hole has been blasted through its torso, glowing orange liquid pouring out across the cracked stone. The Scorpion Beast King lifts its glowing claw, orange regenerative energy already bubbling at its wounds. It snarls that physical attacks alone can't stop it as long as its bacteria keep regenerating. Its wounds crackle and spark with orange molten light. Then something is wrong. The bacterial core viewed from inside looks like a red membrane dotted with orange blooms, but the blooms begin to falter. The creature screams that bacterial reproduction has been suppressed, and at the interior level it is clear why. Foam-like pink bubbles and sparkling white light are consuming the bacteria from within. The antibiotic effect spreads through every vein, pink dots racing along cracked black lines across the organic tissue. The system announces the Bacteria King defeated. Yongo and all subordinates rise to level 8 and gain the racial skill Bacterial Resistance, boosting the mushroom race's bacterial defense by 30%. A new shared skill, Spore Shield, also unlocks. Activate a spore to rapidly grow a decoy in Yongo's likeness, with no combat power, but capable of luring enemies, though elite enemies have a high chance of seeing through it. Finally, Berserk upgrades to Mushroom Berserk, piercing meridians with mycelium and boosting combat power by 30% for a short time. The archers unlock a new ability, Netcasting Arrows. A mycelial arrow expands into a capture net on impact, trapping the target and pinning them to any attachable surface. Somewhere in the dungeon, a grove of tall, glowing mushrooms pulses with soft cyan bioluminescent motes drifting upward in the dark. A dark-haired woman with pointed ears and red-rimmed eyes stands looking up at the mushrooms, telling someone that the mushrooms are growing beautifully. Yongo sits in a chair, arms crossed, and explains that after extracting the useful materials, the residue from the black rot stones turns out to be perfect fertilizer for growing mushrooms. A round pink-capped mushroom subordinate dashes in holding a massive steaming pot and announces it is time to eat. The system quietly notes that Yongo's transformation state has been cancelled. The battle is over. The whole crew gathers around a steaming hot pot. Yongo, Saifeng, Firehammer, and Lv.1, everyone with a bowl. Yongo tells them that since everyone burned through so much energy today, he is treating them all to a staff meal to replenish themselves. One of the mushrooms asks what a staff meal is. It is a small mushroom with a red spotted cap and glowing eyes, peering up at him with genuine curiosity. Yongo catches himself, realizing the term comes from his old world, and of course she would not know it. He starts to explain, but one of the larger mushroom figures cuts him off triumphantly, declaring that it knows this one. There are mushrooms in the meal, which means the mushrooms are the staff. Staff meal. Everyone takes a moment with that. Lv.1 promptly spits out her drink. Yongo stares into the middle distance and tells the table that interpretation is very refreshing. Far from the dinner table, a dark-robed figure lurks in the smoky deep. Its face is featureless except for two flat white slits of eyes, and dark tendrils of energy curl off its cloak. It crouches in a desolate rocky terrain, the black stone around it cracked and shattered, and notes quietly that the bacteria freaks appear to have failed. It watches from behind a boulder, one glowing purple eye barely visible. It decides it is time to find the next batch of cannon fodder, then dissolves into the dark. Moving through a dark tunnel, the figure suddenly stops. It asks itself why this presence feels so much like the black carrion bugs, and wonders aloud whether the ones it released were not all wiped out. A vivid red X-shaped energy cross blazes out of absolute darkness, white speed lines radiating in every direction. Something enormous crashes down from above, a flower-like entity with dark crimson petal segments arranged around a silver orb at its core, the same red X laser blazing from the center. It smashes into the earth while the robed figure stands below, dwarfed by it. The system announces that Yongo's little cutie has suddenly appeared, the rot-forged burrower star, grown from the corpses of the black carrion bugs. It is a massive engineering mushroom capable of crushing mountain rock and decomposing the rubble to absorb useful substances, and can be deployed on the battlefield to deal with heavy units. Because its planting requirements are demanding and cultivation time is long, it must be used with care. Something massive has erupted from the dungeon floor, and a shadow looms over it with glowing purple eyes. A creature stares up and wails that this is not its giant black bug. Yongo stands atop the enormous red dome of the rot-forged burrower star, debris still raining down around him, and stares down at the wreckage with the calm of someone who planned this all along. He turns to face the dark figure directly, red eyes flat, and demands to know whether this is the asshole who keeps dumping players into his turf. Grim Reaper number 10 floats forward, purple mask blazing, and answers the question in the opposite direction, calling Yongo the glitch. Perfect timing, the Reaper says. It will personally eliminate this bug right here and now, and cracks open a large tome as violet lightning erupts from its hands. The attack fires, admin beam, rage delete. A blinding purple spiral tears across the floor. The beam screams downward in a torrent of dark energy, drilling into the stone. Purple lightning fans out in every direction on impact, splitting the ground in a starburst of cracks. The Reaper is stunned. It shouts that it is actually getting overpowered, its own attack swallowed by something it did not expect. The burrower star surges up and takes the full blast head-on, its dark shell absorbing the strike and exploding outward in a halo of white force. Smoke and debris billow across the arena as the shockwave rolls out. The Reaper steadies itself and starts charging again, crackling chains of lightning wrapping its hands as it flips through the tome. But it only mutters to itself. This bug has grown so much in just a few days. This is beyond my pay grade now. I need to request higher admin privy. And that is as far as it gets, because Yongo lunges in, grabs the book, and simply says he will just take that. Yongo swings the tome clear, and the Reaper just stares at him in silence, its mask glowing a cracked and stuttering purple. The Reaper reaches with a violet claw, demanding the book back. Yongo sweeps it away in a wide arc. He plants both feet, hurls the Reaper back with a single crescent slash, rock chips spraying in every direction. The Reaper lands hard in a crater, its mask cracked straight through, and lets out a pained grunt. Yongo holds the book open over the downed admin and asks what exactly it is, because it seems pretty important. The Reaper stares up from the rubble, mask still sparking, and refuses to say a word unless he promises not to kill it. Yongo glances at the cover and tells it that the title is written right there. Why would he need it to explain? The cover reads, Book of Admin Privileges, Zone 1. The Reaper's cracked mask glows in silence. Yongo looks up to find the Reaper gone. He announces that it actually ran away. In the distance, the Reaper rockets upward through a hole in the ceiling, shouting that it can forget the privileged book. As long as it escapes, it will come back with an army and wipe out Yongo's entire clan. The black shape vanishes into the tunnel above. The tunnel seals behind it with a soft curl of smoke. Red light explodes from beneath the Reaper mid-flight. An ambush, it screams. A small spotted mushroom creature has been waiting right there in the tunnel, crouching low. The ignite skill activates, and the mushroom soldier slams a blazing red strike directly into the Reaper, stopping its escape cold. Fire pours over the Reaper as it slams into the ground, scorched and pinned. The Reaper screams, wait, wait, wait. Fire washes over everything. Saifeng uses skirt parachute glide and drops in from above, landing lightly at the edge of the flames, skirts billowing around her. She walks through the burning wreckage toward Yongo, who stands with the admin book in hand. The mushroom soldier at his feet apologizes for attacking too fast, worried it interrupted a negotiation. Yongo waves it off. It does not matter what a low-level admin has to say. At least they still have this privileged book. Saifeng peers at the open pages and asks if the book actually does anything useful. Yongo reads aloud. It can track the movement paths of monsters and players within a limited range, and kick rule-breaking players out of the dungeon. But the most important part is that it can grant certain NPCs player status. Saifeng immediately asks if that means they could have left their original territory and moved up ages ago, and whether they count as players too. Yango holds up the book with a smile and tells her no. This book has them registered as bugs. Saifeng stares at him and works out what that means. As long as the bug label exists, other admins will keep sending players down to fix them. Right on cue, the book starts buzzing. An incoming admin communication request pulses across its cover in glowing rings. Saifeng panics, hissing that if they answer it their cover is blown. Yango looks up over the book with bright eyes and tells her there is nothing to be afraid of. Answer it. The call connects. A hooded figure materializes in a purple hollow ring above the book, glowing eyes burning through the static. The superior admin's mask fills the projection, and it spits one word, you. Yango stares into the call, a thin mycelium shimmer flickering around him, holding the disguise of Grim Reaper number 10. The superior demands to know why it took so long to answer. Yango, playing number 10 without missing a beat, laughs and explains he just finished handling that minor bug they reported earlier, got delayed a bit. The superior is not impressed and snaps that it took this long to handle one lousy bug, and that he deserves to rot at the bottom level for the rest of his life. The superior orders him to make sure the bug status gets updated to resolved later. Yango laughs it off with an ahahaha, understood. The superior's tone shifts to something almost surprised. It tells him that he has actually improved, that he is even taking the initiative to ask now. When he used to dodge work so hard, he would not utter a single peep. Then the real reason for the call. The superior says there is one thing, actually. It is seeing some anomalous data on the 3rd level from the bottom, and tells him to go take care of it. The call ends. Yango walks away, and Saifeng mutters that she cannot believe the mycelium disguise actually fooled that admin. Saifeng asks if they are heading to the 3rd level from the bottom now. Yango says no rush. The admin is just using him as cannon fodder anyway, so let's spread the mycelial network over there to scout it out first. Yango pauses, something snagging his attention through the network. He asks where Lv.1 is. He and Saifeng reach the edge of the zone, a wide stretch of cracked terrain, and Yango confirms he cannot sense Lv.1 anywhere in the mycelial network. She is offline. He calls out through the network, Scout Shroom, where are you? Have you seen Lv.1? A faint voice comes back through the link. Scout Shroom tells him, Boss, you had better come take a look at this. They arrive at a massive cave mouth, its entrance gaping like a wound in the rock face. Yango asks if this is where Lv.1 disappeared. Scout Shroom confirms it tracked her spores all the way here, but they just vanished. Every time it tries to push the mycelial network inside, the threads keep getting snapped. And look at the tree roots, completely gnawed to pieces. Yango stares at the shredded roots lining the cave walls, his mind working fast. If it feeds on wood, he says, could it be? Something launches out of the dark and slams into him before he can finish the thought. Yango and Saifeng stand at the mouth of a dusty passage, surveying what gnawed those roots apart at the end of last chapter. Yango has one word for it, termites. Saifeng says their only real option now is sub-level 3. She wants to head straight up and rescue Lv.1 herself, and she asks why she can't. Saifeng stares at her with the flat patience of someone explaining a bad plan to a volunteer. This time is different, she says. In the past, they always laid down a mycelial network first to gather intel before moving. But the network can't reach up there, which means they are going in completely blind. It is, she says, exactly like charging into the enemy's nest with a blindfold on. Saifeng volunteers herself. She is their leader and their trump card, she tells him. And if even he falls into enemy hands, they will have no backup plan at all. Let me go this time, she says. When the time is right, she will transmit the intel out to him. Yango tells her to stay safe. He will be ready to reinforce at any moment. Don't worry, she says, and steps into the darkness. She launches herself upward using mycelium sprint, bow already raised and glowing red. A soldier nearby points out the obvious. Isn't that a bit too flashy? Won't the termites see? Yango's expression is one of genuine confidence. Termites are practically blind, he says, but he adds the caveat. They do have other sensory abilities. He has a plan for that. After you go up, he says, do this. Meanwhile, a small pale termite worker probes the wood with its antennae, sensing something unusual beside a purple-capped mushroom. It investigates. A snap of mandibles. The mushroom bites back. The worker termite recoils in surprise. From the small mushroom beside it, a single glowing filament descends, and a word blazes out. SHROM. Pheromones. A blur of pale gray passes along the tunnel wall at speed. A system notice materializes, icon and all. The pheromones transmitted between termites have been thoughtfully auto-translated for you. Turns out the termites have opinions. Deep inside the nest, a termite thinks furiously. Why did he get so lucky? Because Yongo, disguised as a dark termite soldier with a purple-capped head, has been carried straight in by the worker ants themselves. He marvels at how brilliantly their leader planned this. After he sent himself up here, he didn't even have to figure out how to sneak in. The worker ants just brought him in themselves. Now, he thinks, let's try laying down a strand of mycelium. Pink sparks crackle as a thin thread of mycelium extends from him along the tunnel surface. A nearby worker termite notices. Delicious, it announces, and lunges at the thread. The entire tunnel swarms. A dozen worker termites converge on the glowing mycelial strand, gnawing enthusiastically, and Yongo realizes the mycelium is termite food. He detonates the thread. An explosion of purple spores bursts through the passage, clearing the workers. He emerges from the cloud, thinking this explains why he never heard a word from my Lv.1. Looking around, he spots it, an ordinary soldier ant colony. His small purple mushroom form skitters past them, unnoticed. He bursts out into a larger chamber and smashes down into a heap of debris with a crash. A big dark soldier ant looms over him. Yongo thinks fast. Officer, he says, this is a new mushroom strain I found. Please keep a close watch on it. Once it sprouts, I'll come. He burrows out of the debris pile, hat first, into an open area of the fungus garden. Sawdust mixed with spore balls. Is this the fungus garden termites use to grow mushrooms? He surfaces in the garden properly, staring at the scattered spore balls and wood chips. A small white mushroom nearby tells him not to worry too much. The two of them sit amid the debris, Yongo's small purple cap and the white mushroom side by side. The white one explains that worker ants only eat spore balls. Sentient mushrooms like them hold no interest for the workers. By the way, it adds, my name is Little Fur. Little Fur, a slender white mushroom with a wide layered cap and round dark eyes, introduces herself properly. Yongo gets right to it. Hello, he says. He wants to ask about another mushroom. Then he describes her. A mushroom girl with a red cap, black spots, a black top, and a pink skirt. Little Fur shakes her cap slowly. Never seen her, she says. But then she remembers something. She makes an apologetic expression. Little Fur explains, just like this one. She is a bit clueless and silly, and she loves saying I'm sorry. A light bulb practically materializes over Yongo's purple cap. He has found his lead. Oh, her, he shouts, recognizing the description instantly. He is already up and moving. The little red-capped figure strides away at a determined clip while Little Fur calls after him, asking where he's going. He's going to find the little mushroom girl, he says. Aren't you coming? Little Fur is horrified. Didn't you just say sentient mushrooms get offered as tribute to the king and queen? She tells him he is going to get eaten sooner or later too. I'm not leaving, Little Fur says flatly, and shakes her cap once more. If I stay here, she continues, I can at least live a little longer. If she dares to run, the soldier ants will kill her immediately. Killed, Yongo repeats, with the tone of someone encountering a word for the first time. On cue, the fungus garden erupts around him as a wall of white mycelium tears through the chamber. The blast hurls him into the air and into the tunnel beyond. Something white and sharp skids and crashes across the tunnel surface. Yongo pokes his cap up and peers out, confused. Little Fur's face fills the frame, jaw dropped, eyes white with shock, staring at whatever just happened out there. A termite soldier lies among purple splatters, and white smoke is still drifting. Then a voice from off the page. To think she actually took out all the soldier ants around the fungus garden. Little Fur stands there gaping. What kind of mushroom is she? The answer is waiting near the shaft entrance. Two elite soldier ants, bigger and darker than the workers, ringed in crackling purple lightning, guard the tunnel opening. It is time, one of them says. They should offer the captive to the termite king now. My Lv.1, bound in blue glowing restraints, can only lie still beneath the sparking purple carapace looming over her. A single wide eye peers out from behind a rocky edge. What's going on over there? The voice belongs to Sai-Feng, crouched in the rubble with her red bow already in hand, surveying the carnage of soldier ants she just cleared. An elite soldier ant materializes out of the dark and hits her like a freight train. Who goes there? She meets it head-on. Her arrow drives straight into the ant's head with an explosion of pink light, halting it cold. The exchange is savage. The ant's massive head swings back toward her, and she is airborne, trailing pink mycel light, pressed flat against the huge dark shell. My Lhn looks up from the ground. Captain, you came to save me. Sai-Feng kneels over her, one hand already snapping the blue bindings free. Purple lightning crackles around Sai-Feng as the elite ant's tail lashes toward them both. My Lhn exhales with relief, her wide red cap slightly crooked, eyes glowing soft red. A small, deeply apologetic smile. And then the blow lands. My Lhn's cap is shoved sideways by the impact, and her eyes burn red with alarm. Sai-Feng stares at her with fury barely held in check. Idiot, she says. How could you let yourself get carried off by the enemy so easily? She will settle the score once they are out of here. The two of them move together across the tunnel floor, small figures sprinting toward the shaft exit. My Lhn asks how they get out. There are a lot of soldier ants on the way. Sai-Feng crouches beside her, calm and certain. The leader is going to extract us, she says. Sai-Feng's eye is sharp and steady, focused on something approaching fast. Wait. The shout is hers, and she is already sprinting, my Lhn scrambling to follow. Behind them the tunnel wall erupts as more soldiers pour in. Something hits her from the side. She whips around, hand raised. What is it? But it is only Yongo's mycelial strand, snapping around her wrist, and she exhales. Above the tunnel opening, a cascade of elite soldier ants swarms down the curved walls in a wide spiral, every one of them ringed in crackling purple lightning. Sai-Feng and my Lhn are two small silhouettes at the bottom, staring up. I sense intense bloodlust up ahead, my Lhn says quietly. It might be an ambush. The soldier ant captain gives the order before Sai-Feng even clears the tunnel mouth. The second she pokes her head out, tear her to pieces. A white crown-shaped projectile spins past the rock face, trailing a bead-like cord. It belongs to a small, round-capped decoy shroom hauling itself up the wall. The ants freeze. One of them wonders aloud whether this is the new fungal species the worker ants reported, but it is definitely not the bun-headed girl who attacked them. Could the intel be wrong? Before they can decide, the decoy shroom flings itself off the wall with a shout. Ultimate sure-kill flying stone. The stone clips King Oyster's shell for 1 point of polish damage. He says nothing. Just dots. More dots. King Oyster lands on the tunnel floor and stares up at the ants, absolutely speechless. The soldier ant captain has had enough. You have some nerve throwing rocks at me. He laughs, ordering his boys to tear it to shreds. The ant swarm surges toward the tiny decoy shroom, every one of them abandoning the ambush position. Back at the tunnel junction, the real Sai-Feng and my Lhn slip through in the confusion, the path now clear. King Oyster waves them on, telling them the decoy shroom lured the ambush away and they are going this way now. My Lhn says got it, and they run. One of the soldiers asks if the extraction point is not a bit far. The soldier ant captain, already in pursuit, shouts that their average escape speed is nothing they cannot handle. A massive black foot crashes into the ground near the fleeing shroom soldier, cracking stone on impact. Sai-Feng, eyes sharp and wide, snaps her gaze toward the sound. She shouts watch out and shoves away just as a dark shape slices across the ground behind her. A second elite soldier ant drops from above, and Sai-Feng barely twists clear, her momentum carrying her into a spinning counter that sends sparks off the tunnel wall. She gasps, whoa. The ant slams into the floor in a crater of shattered rock, pincers first. Sai-Feng's bow flares with crackling orange fire as she draws. She fires point blank into the underside of the ant's abdomen, and sparks cascade off the plating all around her. The shroom soldier watching the fight shouts captain, hands clasped in alarm. Sai-Feng turns her head without breaking her stance, and tells them not to worry about her. Stick to the plan and fall back. The shroom soldier obeys, sprinting low along the tunnel floor. It shouts back sorry while it runs, promising to carry out the retreat mission exactly as planned. Sai-Feng's expression does not change, but her eyes sharpen with focus. She flips backward as two bladed ant legs drive into the ground where she stood a breath ago. The creature looming over her now carries a label above its head, Soldier Ant Captain. It tells her not bad. She actually took a hit from it. But does she really think that little shroom girl can get away? The soldier ant captain reveals they have an ambush waiting on that route too. This ant can speak the common tongue, and Sai-Feng clocks that immediately, thinking it must have evolved. Sai-Feng keeps her eyes level and narrow, giving away nothing. She tells it calmly that it is pretty obvious where it stationed its heavy hitters, and the handful of troops it has on that route will not be enough to stop the shroom soldier. She says she has complete faith in her captain. Then she draws her bow again, red energy streaming off the string. The soldier ant captain is confused. It demands to know why she is shooting at her own fellow shrooms. Meanwhile, across the nest, the shroom soldier races alone through an open chamber, a solitary silhouette in the dark. It surges with glowing red-capped intensity, something building inside it. An arrow zips past, close enough to feel, but not touching. Back with Saifeng, we see why. She fired past the shroom soldier deliberately, and now King Oyster stands beside her, catching on. She asks her chief, if they run into an ambush, how do they draw them out? The answer is to use the colony's own traits against them. She fires a blazing pink arrow. Don't the termites love munching on mycelium? The arrow detonates on one of the ambushing ants ahead, and the explosion scatters a cloud of glowing pink mycelium spores across the tunnel floor. Then lure them out, and let them feast to their heart's content, King Oyster says. The ambushing ants lose their minds. Aya, one screams, delicious mycelium. The soldier next to it slaps it with a leg. Hey, this could be bait dropped by the enemy shrooms. Do not let greed get the better of you. The scolded ant concedes the point with a sheepish "Oh, you make a good point," then immediately wonders where everyone went. Everyone has gone to eat. One ant is already shoveling mycelium in on behalf of another, begging, "Sir, let me feed you." A second screams, "It is starving to death over here." "You are already stuffing your own face," shouts the first ant, indignant. Another screams, "Screw it. Get a worker ant over here to feed me too." The ambush has collapsed entirely into a buffet. The shroom soldier races past their distracted forms, the ants bickering and eating, not a single eye on the target. A tiny thought bubble floats out of the shroom soldier's head. Using this trick to clear a path, the shroom soldier marvels to itself, "Our captain is brilliant." It keeps sprinting. Behind it, the bickering ants shriek at each other over the mycelium. "It is all mine, no stealing. It is mine. Don't make me bite you." Back in the main tunnel, the soldier ant captain watches King Oyster move and can barely believe it. They actually caused a highly unified ant colony to fall apart. Unforgivable, it says. It charges, driving its armored body forward in a blur. Saifeng's next arrow clangs off the captain's head armor in a spray of sparks. The arrow skips off the shell and buries itself in the tunnel floor. The captain stands back up and tells her straight. Her attacks are only useful when she sneaks a shot into the gaps of their armor. It swings hard and sends Saifeng skidding across the stone, blood scattering from the impact. She disappeared? The captain spins, confused, but Saifeng is already gone from where she landed. Pink energy spirals in the air where she stood. She has activated mycelial flash step. She reappears behind the captain in an instant, bow drawn, 3 red energy arrows knocked at once. She looses all 3 in a single volley at close range, the bolts screaming into the captain's torso. They clang off in a burst of yellow fire. The captain barely registers it. It scoffs. If 1 arrow could not pierce its defenses, did she really think 3 would make a difference? Even if it is not head armor, its torso plating is nothing to scoff at, and breaking its guard will not be that easy. King Oyster comes in from a low angle, shell spinning, grinding along the gap between abdomen and torso plating, sparks flying from the joint. Saifeng's bow blazes with concentrated pink light as she charges up. The captain laughs. Getting desperate, are we? It swings at the ground blindly, but Saifeng is already gone. The captain snarls that she is just swinging blindly in place, then stops. A blade? Something has found the gap at its neck joint, and a line of pink energy traces around the seam. Saifeng drives it home, mycelial lunge. The pink energy detonates inside the armor joint in a searing burst. The soldier ant captain's shell cracks open from the inside, orange fire and pink light blasting through the fracture lines as Saifeng stands in the glow, the fight finally broken open. Saifeng stands over the body of the evolved soldier ant captain, its shell cracked and still, purple veins already fading. She is barely breathing hard. Then something else moves in the dust. The ground shudders. A shockwave blooms across the chamber floor, scattering debris in every direction. A massive silhouette steps out of the smoke and delivers its verdict. "You even managed to kill our soldier ant captain," it says. "You have got some skills." The smoke clears, and the termite legion commander, Trapjaw Soldier Ant, stands revealed in full, a hulking insectoid creature crackling with purple energy, blade arms spread wide. And its next complaint is that Saifeng also threw its subordinates into complete chaos. It detonates an aura of violet power outward and bellows at its scattered troops to get back here right now. The energy tears through the tunnel in a blue slash. Saifeng ducks low, stone chips raining around her hat. The blast tears straight through a column of returning termite soldiers, scattering them like kindling. Their commander does not appear to care. Saifeng snaps her bow up, and the mycelial network flares pink along the string. She calls the skill out, mycelial net. The arrow detonates against the commander in a burst of rose-colored energy, sparks cascading off its armor. The hit lands square on its massive red cranium, light blooming across the shell. Pink energy slashes cascade down across the commander's body, each one drawing a shower of sparks. Saifeng steps into the pink light and calls another skill, ignite. The commander is not impressed. It warns her not to even think about channeling skills through the mycelium. Then it answers with mandible whip, a lash of its serrated forearm that catches Saifeng across the face. The impact drives her straight into the ceiling in a burst of orange sparks. The commander's jaws snap, shut in front of her face. It drives her down into the stone floor with its full weight. She skids across the ground, her blade barely still in hand. The commander charges again, and between the flashes Saifeng grits out that she is actually very agile, which is presumably true, because she ducks it. The commander's red head fills the frame, sparks flying as its armored skull tears through another obstacle. Saifeng barely keeps her grip on the blade as the shockwave runs up her arm. The impact is so strong she almost drops it entirely, she admits. She pivots and drives her blade into the commander's shell. She follows with a second strike, sparks exploding off its body. The commander shrugs her off with a force she calls incredible, and she hits the ground again. The commander looms above her and announces that since she can no longer block, here comes its ultimate move. In that fraction of a second, Saifeng's memory snaps to a conversation with King Oyster, who had mentioned there is a type of termite that can squeeze its mandibles together. Yango had explained it in his usual calm, and Saifeng had asked the obvious follow-up. And then what? And then the mandibles snap past each other, he had told her, releasing massive elastic potential energy all at once. The ultimate move detonates in a white star of force. Shrapnel tears downward through the air. The trapjaw smash blasts outward, and the commander calls it by name. The stone floor shatters under the impact. A thin spike driven through the tunnel wall. Through a hole in the tunnel ceiling, something pours in from the mycelial side of the colony. A pale arm punches through the debris. Arrows clang off the commander's armored red dome. The commander rounds on Saifeng and tells her, for what it apparently considers a repeated conversation, that arrows which cannot pierce its armor are useless no matter how many she fires. Saifeng braces and keeps shooting anyway, battered dress and all, and the commander grudgingly says it respects anyone willing to fight to the bitter end. It has a lot of subordinates with it now, and it promises Saifeng that after it tears her apart, it will deliver her head to the queen as a souvenir. Then it orders the swarm to attack. The horde charges. The commander drives its full bulk headfirst at Saifeng from point-blank range. A status message appears, network reconnected. The break in Saifeng's arm is visible, blood running down pale skin. The commander fills the tunnel, blue light building along its shell as it closes the distance. Something comes down from above. A pillar of white light splits the tunnel from ceiling to floor, and beneath it the commander's glowing eyes are the last thing visible before impact. The commander takes a hit from behind as reinforcements breach its own shell. Its claws are cut clean through, the blade still glowing as it drops. A wide view of the wreckage. Saifeng standing at the center, the commander's bulk collapsed around her, and mushroom soldiers scattered across the chamber. The commander is flung into the wall with purple gashes ripped across its shell, sputtering that this is impossible. It cut off all the mycelium, and the perimeter soldier ants sent out no pheromone warnings. A blade lodges in its skull, and a second question follows. How did these shroom reinforcements get in at all? Then the system answers both at once. Network communication restored. Saifeng catches a pink glow around her, and a mushroom soldier's voice crackles through the reconnected network. Boss, are you there? King Oyster, in full mushroom form, answers that he is not done yet, still clearing stragglers on the perimeter. Then, while casually stepping over a smoldering termite, he walks Saifeng through the plan. Because she held out long enough for Lv.1 to escape, the party gathers critical intel on the enemy even while the network is down. He has Firehammer forge blunt weapons to crack the termites' heavy armor, and lays a second mycelial network inside the colony tunnels before the fight starts. He is already sinking the EXP he earned mopping up his side of the battle, and between what she earned and what he is sending, she should be able to level up. He also mentions, with the particular cheerfulness of someone who has been planning this, that Firehammer forged some good equipment for her, and she should check her inventory. The system confirms, syncing EXP. Sai-Feng rises off the ground, wrapped in pink-white light, as the experience floods through her. Her outfit reshapes around her as new gear settles into place. The system logs the milestone. Shroom Race has leveled up to Lv.9. Sai-Feng stands in the glow of it, framed between the fallen commander's antennae. She steps forward in the new armor, blades at her hips, expression steady. The download screen details the new Veil Glider armor, integrated with black cleaver skin for better protection. While moving, she can spray spores backward through the veil to trigger Veil Dash, a short burst of extra speed that burns through her body's active spores, and the spores take time to regenerate once depleted. The inventory screen fills with the rest of Firehammer's work. Armor-piercing arrows built from harder material with excellent penetrating force. A new skill called Meteor Body Spike that chains an armor-piercing arrow hit into a mycelial lunge, then Veil Dash, and finally a hammer blow to drive the arrow deep into the target's body, and the Umbrella Flower Hammer to do the hammering. King Oyster is apparently a very productive planner. The battle carries straight over from last chapter. Sai-Feng is a blur of ink and spores, her new Veil Dash sending her crashing into the Termite Legion commander in a spiral of purple light and shattered chitin. She drives the blow home at close range, her blade raking across the commander's cap with a flash of blue energy. A wide overhead shot shows the aftermath. 3 Shroom guards still standing in a field of fallen soldier ants, wing cases scattered across the cratered tunnel floor like dropped coins. The commander is furious. He rounds on Sai-Feng and asks whether, since she could not beat him one-on-one, she had to call for backup to gang up on him. Sai-Feng stares back with absolute composure and reminds him that 3 Shroom guards taking out over 20 soldier ants is not ganging up on anyone. The commander's mandibles snap. He swings his jaw and a blade of compressed force scythes across the tunnel wall. Sai-Feng rolls clear on a pulse of blue energy, and the attack smashes stone instead, sending a cascade of gravel raining down around her. The commander snarls that she can keep hiding behind her Shroom guards if she wants, but she cannot stop him from killing her. He blurs into motion, the whole world smearing sideways as he crosses the gap in a single charge. His jaw clips into the tunnel wall, and the impact shatters the stone on contact. But Sai-Feng has already slipped past. She presses her blade against the armor above his collar as she skids by, opening a long gash that drips dark against the rubble. She lands a dozen paces back, bow already raised, her new Veil Glider armor shimmering in pink rings of spore light. From the commander's perspective, she went from melee to archery stance in what felt like a single heartbeat. He wheels on her, genuinely thrown, demanding to know why shrooms are so stubborn. Sai-Feng draws the bowstring back until it glows, a coil of hot pink energy wrapping the arrow, and lets it fly in a wide, curving arc above him. She starts to say she already told him it was no use, but the commander cuts her off mid-sentence with another charge, slamming into her, and sending both of them through the tunnel wall in a burst of shrapnel and golden sparks. He finishes her sentence for her as the impact lands. Use. The arrow she fired loops back. 3 overlapping rings close around the commander's neck like a noose. The rings slam shut. Stone cracks under the recoil. The commander lands face down in a crater of his own making, stunned. He thinks to himself, what is going on? How did an arrow pierce his hardest head armor? There is a small purple flare of mycelial energy blooming inside the crack. He catches it and thinks, at least it did not go too deep. Golden sparks scatter from Sai-Feng's shoulders as she straightens, undamaged, the Veil Glider armor having taken the blow entirely. She flicks the bow horizontal. The motion leaves a ring of afterimages around the limb. Veil Dash activates. She becomes a streak of pink light, already moving before the skill text finishes appearing. She materializes point-blank in front of the commander, bow pressed into the crack in his head armor. He registers her speed with what seems like genuine alarm, and asks why an archer is choosing close combat. He announces he is asking for it, and fires his own skill, Trapjaw Smash, his massive mandibles snapping shut on her position. The skill name flashes in white, then the counter-skill announcement follows, Meteor Heavy Spike. The 2 skills collide in a blinding sunburst of pink and gold, the shockwave punching outward in all directions and cratering the tunnel floor. Dust and debris sweep outward in the aftermath, white lines of force still curving through the air where the energies met. The entire tunnel above the commander's last position has been bored into a perfect spiral shaft by the impact, stone peeling back in tight rings all the way to the ceiling. The commander stares up from the base of that shaft. He says nothing, but his silence does all the work. His head armor is crumbling apart, cracks spreading inward from the spike wound, shards flaking loose in a thin haze of steam. The system confirms, Trapjaw termite has been eliminated. Saifeng stands in the settling dust, bow at her hip, while the last piece of the commander hits the ground behind her. She is sweating very slightly. King Oyster in his small shroom form has been watching from the pit below. Someone starts to say that was beautiful, then stops. Saifeng looks down at him and asks why he switched back to shroom form. Before he can answer, a distant rumble echoes through the tunnel. Saifeng turns toward the sound and asks what the commotion is. King Oyster explains the shroom soldiers are clearing out the stragglers, and they should be close to the Queen's chamber by now. Deep in another tunnel, one of those soldiers is answering in fire. A pyroshroom drives a column of flame straight into something in its path. An electroshroom follows it up, a crackling sphere of blue lightning detonating against the termite carapace that took the flame hit. Saifeng sees the combination and remarks that the fire shrooms and electroshrooms are back too. King Oyster confirms, as long as the old spores are kept, they can be replanted, and since his level keeps rising he has a few more slots for shroom soldiers, so he grew those two again. The full party marches through the termite tunnels, tiny figures framed by enormous root-like pillars and drifting spore clouds, heading deeper toward the Queen. King Oyster stops cold. He senses intense bloodlust up ahead. Two armored figures step out of the tunnel shadow to block their path, a voice declaring that this is as far as they go. The shroom soldiers raise their hands, reading the threat. King Oyster stares at what stands in front of them. A blade sweeps the tunnel floor. Two termite officers fill the tunnel. The system tags them, General Twisting Termite, a scythe-limbed fighter wreathed in red energy, and below him Vice General Explosive Termite, compact and crackling. A third label appears, Vice General Beak Termite, a smaller but sharply armored figure flanking the pair. They announce that the royal chamber is just ahead and all intruders will be killed on sight. King Oyster calls to everyone to be careful and drops into a wide fighting stance, his small shroom form surprisingly ready-looking. General Twisting Termite does not wait. He swings a scythe arm that covers the entire width of the tunnel, moving to close the gap instantly. King Oyster drops under it, the blade passing close enough to ruffle the cap of his shroom form. The general pulls back into a wide coiled stance, and King Oyster's eyes go wide. That starting stance looks exactly like what the Termite Legion commander used before, which is not good. He decides not to wait and find out. He fires a slingshot toxic bomb, a green sphere fizzing with corrosive venom, straight into the general's chest, while simultaneously throwing up a mycelial interception net to contain whatever comes next. King Oyster spreads the net wide, a curtain of pink mycelial threads erupting from his shroom body and anchoring to the tunnel walls. The shroom soldiers fire into the net at the vice generals behind it, red beams lancing through the mesh. The explosive termite detonates. The mycelial interception net catches the blast, compressing the shockwave and venom splash into a contained fireball, but the explosion still tears chunks from the tunnel ceiling. The shroom soldiers brace and hold fire. The explosion blooms in green and gold behind them, brilliant and enormous. The electro-shroom turns to look, a teal-capped mushroom soldier with glowing yellow eyes, face calm, already thinking about the next move. The green explosion rips across the tunnel in full, a solid wall of energy that shreds the rock face and sends debris flying in every direction. When the smoke clears, Saifeng is already slicing a pink arc through the haze, her bow blade catching a surviving termite officer on the move. She drives a second sweep in low, hooking the head of a dazed vice general and dragging him off his feet. King Oyster pulls back to survey. Saifeng is mopping up the stragglers while the fire and electro shrooms pepper anything still moving. Only one shroom guard is left standing beside him. Dust settles across the ruined tunnel. 3 shroom guards lie on the stone in front of him, their white bodies mottled with green corrosive stains. King Oyster says he could only save one, and that even though the mycelial interception net restricted the toxic bomb's movement, the wide area splash of corrosive venom from the explosion still cost him 2 shroom guards in an instant. He stares at the survivors and reaches a conclusion. His shroom guards have high physical defense, but low poison resistance. That is the gap the termites were aiming at. He stands in the lingering smoke, calculating, already thinking about how to fix that before the next fight. Ahead, the General Twisting Termite wrenches its jaw wide and lunges, the royal chamber directly behind it. The party is one fight away from the Queen. General Twisting Termite's sickle blade comes screaming in, and King Oyster meets it head-on. The impact sends dust billowing in every direction. Blue energy claws rake downward and the termite general staggers, roaring, debris flying from the strike. Someone calls out, "One down." The termite general's massive form crashes to the ground in a cloud of pulverized stone. King Oyster's red cap looms over a cluster of smaller shroom soldiers, all of them cracked and battered but still standing. A massive fist ringed with pink energy slams down. King Oyster's sickle catches the blow, and he shoves back hard, sending the general skidding. The termite general is furious. He says he came out of nowhere and actually caught a snap attack, then demands to know who the hell he is. Firehammer answers without blinking, "Just a blacksmith." From flat on the ground, Firehammer calls up to King Oyster, "Boss, head straight to the Queen's chamber and leave this place to them." King Oyster gives a thumbs up, telling them he is counting on them, and then he is already moving. He darts across the cracked tunnel floor, leaving slashing marks in his wake. Ahead of him, King Oyster sprints low and fast across the wide chamber, his red cap skimming the stone while the termite general stands behind them. The general watches him go and sneers, asking if they are really telling him that little shorty is their boss. Firehammer's eyes go pink and cold. He tells the general to watch his mouth, or he will rip off that shell and make it into a shield. King Oyster hollers back to Sci-Fung and Firehammer that he is leaving this one to them, and that he is going straight for the Queen. Sci-Fung answers with a cool, "Got it." She moves fast, striking at the general from close range, her blow landing with a flash of white. Firehammer is right behind her, slamming the termite general into the ground with his pink-lit fist and a red bolt of force. The impact cracks the stone beneath them and sends chips flying. The general is troubled, thinking that they are specifically targeting his weaker flank armor. He then wonders if these shrooms can synchronize combat data with their allies the way the termites do, but decides this guy is pretty clunky. Firehammer plants his feet and swings again, glowing pink eyes steady as he drives forward. Sci-Fung fires an arrow low and hard across the chamber floor. It connects and a torrent of blue-white liquid erupts, coating the general's foot and splashing wide. The general recoils and shouts, "Glue?" Sci-Fung is already sprinting away, leaving sticky white threads strung across the chamber behind her, with King Oyster visible as a tiny figure in the far distance still running for the royal chamber. The general thinks, "Over there." He lunges, blade swinging. He shouts, "Where are you looking?" His sickle comes around in a wide arc aimed at Sci-Fung's back. She barely rolls clear, and Firehammer shouts, "Oh no." The sickle buries itself in the stone where she just stood, spraying rubble. King Oyster has made it past the outer battle, tearing across the web tunnel wall toward the royal chamber. Back in the chamber, the termite general taunts Sci-Fung and Firehammer. "Do these shrooms only know how to bully grunts?" He says their shorty boss just left them here to die. Sci-Fung answers with a flat, "Humph." Then her shroom soldiers detonate around the general in a cascade of pink crystal spikes, shredding the air. King Oyster drives his sickle into the tunnel ceiling, carving a new path. The general screams. The mushroom mycelium is breaking down his glue. He swings wildly and shouts for King Oyster not to even think about escaping. Sci-Fung fires back. Glue-rich and organic matter is a fungus's favorite food. She charges in, her body wreathed in hot pink light, and drives her weapon clean through the termite's glue trap. The arrow she threw punches through a swirling pink shockwave and detonates in a ring of light. King Oyster rides the mycelial threads into the blast, closing the distance, the explosion of glue spraying in all directions as the attack connects. The general watches helplessly as the scattered glue sticks to the mycelial net and forms an enhanced sticky trap all around him. He mutters that he cannot believe they used his own skill against him. Then the skill name blazes across the chamber, mycelial lunge. Sci-Fung hits the general hard with a pink charge strike, telling him, so he isn't immune to his own skills after all. She follows through with a kick, sending him sliding, while King Oyster watches from below, noting, crap. The termite general's sickle blade slams into the floor and sticks, locked in place. King Oyster stands over a steaming hole in the ground, prodding at it with his weapon. Sci-Fung broadcasts over the mycelial network to all shrooms. These termites are not immune to their own skills. A new figure comes into view, Vice General Explosive Termite, a round-bodied termite with glowing red eyes and a wide grin. Sci-Fung identifies him immediately and relays to the team that if they force him into close combat, his own bombs will blow him apart. Vice General Explosive Termite crackles with electricity on top and blazes with fire below, snarling, boom boom. He launches both at once, fire and lightning colliding in a single devastating wave. Firehammer responds with a column of pure fire, and on the other side the Vice General counters with a blast of lightning, the two forces crashing against each other. King Oyster runs a charged mycelial net over top, capping the Vice General with crackling blue electricity. He thinks out loud, working through the plan, capping the top with an electrified mycelial net. Below the net, King Oyster and a small shroom soldier stand in the orange firelight of the burning chamber, both of them watching the Vice General trapped in the glowing cage. King Oyster's red cap glows ember orange as he watches the Vice General writhe, and the termite bellows, "Crafty shrooms." King Oyster's form turns away from the blaze, his eyes scanning the smoke. His cracked cap hits the floor with an X mark on it. The Vice General thinks he has the kill, but it is just a decoy shroom. The General snarls that he cannot believe King Oyster played dead with a decoy shroom. A small glowing spore rolls free from the real King Oyster's position, a puffball bomb. King Oyster's red cap catches the firelight as he stands clear, watching the bomb skitter toward the Vice General. The puffball bomb ignites against the Vice General's own fire and blows a massive orange fireball through the tunnel. The shockwave drives a long needle-thin spike into the stone floor with a crack. The Vice General staggers, purple poison seeping through the cracks in his shell from the mycelial attack. He is furious, demanding King Oyster fight him one-on-one in melee if he has the guts. King Oyster's reply drifts back through the smoke. Didn't he already say? He is just a blacksmith. Something spins fast across the chamber floor and smashes into the Vice General's legs. The Vice General laughs triumphantly. Haha, he finally tricked him into close combat. He closes his claws around King Oyster, purple glyphs blazing across his shell. But King Oyster's sickle drives straight down into the Vice General's grip, and the explosion tears purple energy outward in all directions. A thin pillar drives through the center of the blast. The Vice General is cracked open, purple light flooding the splits in his shell. King Oyster stands clear and shouts back. The Vice General calls this close combat. He deploys the red umbrella shroom cannon, a tall pillar weapon that fires a beam straight into the chamber wall, and the chapter closes on the tunnel filling with smoke. The Vice General beaked termite is on his back in the rubble, pink mycelium tendrils coiling around his limbs, and he has the nerve to sound indignant about it. He demands to know if a cannon barrel to the face is supposed to count as a real hit. He insists a clunky cannon like that is easy to dodge, but the impact craters around him tell a different story. Then his body locks up completely. He cannot move at all. A freeze effect holds him rigid, legs pinned to the stone. He looks down and sees it. Small mushrooms have sprouted around his feet and fused to the ground, locking him in place. He cannot believe Yang Go jammed his feet with mushrooms. Firehammer is already in motion. He shouts that being a blacksmith means having plenty of items, and drives a weapon straight down through the immobilized termite in a column of orange fire and white light. The strike finds the Vice General's eye. The glowing red iris fills the frame, cracks spreading out from the center. The weapon punches through. The Vice General manages one last noise. He knows he is done for. The impact column tears upward, rock and debris blasting outward in a ring of yellow heat. The smoke clears. A system notification reads, General Twisting Termite eliminated. Across the battlefield, the General's body lies still, and the red umbrella shroom cannon rests on the broken ground nearby. General Twisting Termite's cracked cap is pressed flat against the stone, purple fluid pooling underneath, eyes dark. 2 generals down. Feng is still in the air, and Vice General Beak Termite is still very much alive. Arrows streak out from her position in rapid bursts, crisscrossing the chamber. 3 sticky bomb explosions bloom in front of her, each one eating one of her explosive arrows. He is thinking out loud. Only high-density sticky bombs can barely hold against her shots, which is not the comfort he thinks it is. The Vice General's head hangs low, cracked shell and dark antenna, his body badly damaged from the earlier fight. Purple lightning crackles through the hole in his chest. He is banged up, he admits, which is exactly why he has to go all out right now. He unleashes a high-speed sticky bomb barrage, purple-lit projectiles raining downward in a dense curtain. 3 ice-blue sticky bombs burst in rapid succession at ground level, the blasts close enough to each other that the shock waves overlap. Feng counters with continuous mycelial lunge, pink-red arrows driving into the ceiling, the walls, every surface around the termite, boxing him in from every angle. A blade punches straight through the Vice General's torso, splitting what remains of his armor from within. King Oyster, still in mushroom form and moving at full speed, slams into the termite and roars that he finally caught him. King Oyster's spotted red mushroom cap looms from behind, the impact still reverberating through his body. He seizes the vice general and drags him sideways across the stone floor, the termite's legs cutting furrows behind him. King Oyster swings him overhead and hammers him into the ground, telling the termite he is about to find out what it feels like to be smashed to pieces. The impact blows a crater into the stone, debris flying in every direction. He follows up with 3 rapid slashes, curved energy cuts sweeping through the dust. Then he snaps a mycelium thread around the termite and yanks him back in, screaming at him to get over here. The cleaver comes down in a dark arc, leaving a deep red gash across the vice general's body. He slams the termite vertically against the floor again, the impact sounds echoing through the tunnel. King Oyster spins and catches him with another swing, letting out a short, sharp laugh of effort. The termite barely has time to be confused before another black wing-shaped blade cuts clean through, and when the dust settles, King Oyster's assault has shredded the vice general's outer casing entirely. He stares at the remains and says one word: clothes. King Oyster's red mushroom cap cracks open, a glowing red eye visible inside, surveying the situation with characteristic calm. Sai-Feng is on one knee, her pink veil glider wings spread wide, lightning crackling through her frame. The vice general's counterattack landed on her. King Oyster sees it, and his expression shifts. Then, through the mycelial network, an armor-piercing arrow downloads straight to her position, and a beam of white-pink light fires point-blank through the termite. The follow-up skill, Meteor Heavy Spike, a single vertical lance of energy driving straight down from above, pinning the vice general to the wall in a column of pink and white. The system confirms it. Vice General Beaked Termite eliminated. Sai-Feng stands at the far end of the corridor, and what is left of the vice general is embedded in the wall behind her. Purple blood spread across the stone. Clothes on the vice general's beak, cracked and pinned, the body inert. Both of them are done. Sai-Feng looks at the detached limb and decides she has a feeling it could come in handy. Elsewhere in the tunnels, the fight with Vice General Explosive Termite is still going. King Oyster in mushroom form drives through the termite's shell with a crushing blow, debris scattering orange. Firehammer's fire rings clamp around the vice general, while a small mushroom soldier clings to his body at the same time, the combined grip leaving the termite nowhere to safely detonate. The vice general is furious and a little panicked. These shrooms are a genuine pain to deal with, he says, because the moment they latch onto him at close range, he cannot blow himself up without taking them with him. But, he adds, they still underestimate him. His body begins to pulse with a deep green glow, the detonation charge building from within. He declares that for the Queen he is fully prepared to die, and then shouts for everyone to die here together. A massive green explosion tears outward from his body. King Oyster's voice comes through the network. All shrooms, out now. The Electro Shroom and the Pyroblast Shroom both receive the order, their forms lit up and ready to move. King Oyster hammers the termite one more time before the detonation fully ignites, red energy crashing down through the green light. The termite's golden eyes glow wide as Yongo's order comes through. Deactivate the electric nets and firewalls immediately and clear the blast radius. From above, the chamber looks like a map of controlled chaos. Shroom soldiers scattering in all directions while yellow flames spread from the detonation zone, and King Oyster's figure weaves through the gaps. The explosive termite watches everyone pull back and laughs. Just a little scare, and they back off exactly as expected. He fires a green energy beam straight up into the ceiling, a triumphant offensive shot at full power. Then something sticks to him. He recognizes it instantly. Vice General Beaked Termite's sticky glue. He is baffled. How did it reach him here? He looks around, and his antennae go stiff with a question mark. The answer fires past him. A green blast, the glue hitting from outside, launched from Sai-Feng's position. He shouts that he can now throw bombs at them without any hesitation, then realizes that makes no sense given what is sticking to him. A signal flatlines across the termite sensors. The pheromones have synchronized. Beaked Termite is already out. That means this glue came from that female shroom. His eyes read the situation a half-second too late. The glue detonates against him, the explosion close enough that he cannot escape his own sticky bomb radius. Sai-Feng drives a spread of mycelial lunge arrows simultaneously through both of the termite's eyes, pinning his head against the wall. She slams down on top of him with her full weight. He cannot break free. He knows it. The prime toxic bomb inside him cannot be deactivated now. A massive yellow-green explosion tears the chamber apart, and the system adds the final line. Vice General Explosive Termite eliminated. Sai-Feng is already gliding clear on her pink veil glider wings. drifting sideways along the wall through the last of the green light, untouched. The royal chamber opens ahead of them. The location tag reads, Termite Queen's Nest. At the center of a vast gray cavern ringed by pale bone-white pillars lies what appears to be the queen. A huge pale segmented larva coiled on the chamber floor, easily 10 times Yongo's height. Yongo, a tiny figure at the entrance, takes it in and says quietly, So this is the queen's nest. Close on the larva's head. A single enormous black eye stares out from the pale shell, smoke curling from a vent along its side. It has been waiting. A small red-capped mushroom soldier at Yongo's side looks around the chamber in confusion and asks where the queen is. The larva lying right in front of them does not match what it expected. Then the larva shell cracks open and something bursts out of it. A dark clawed limb punches through the pale casing from the inside, purple energy exploding outward, and the chamber shakes with the impact. A system label appears in the air, Termite Queen, Fungi Devourer, Karis. The real queen tears free of the shell she used as cover, purple light radiating from her eyes, claws spread wide, and Yongo stares up at her from below with no idea what is about to happen next.